Very nice. Welcome back, folks. Episode 58 of the Hispanic on Paper podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
If you are looking for a Latin empowerment podcast, this is not it. My name is Marcos.
My name is Kashi.
And also...
My name is Ed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Got it.
Woo.
Got on first take.
That was great. Actually, that was fantastic.
I'm going to steal this now, by the way.
Yeah, if you want, you can have it.
Go ahead.
If you're looking for a Hispanic on Paper podcast, if you're looking
That's
for
us.
if you're looking for the Hispanic on Paper podcast, that is us. We're killing it. But yeah, sorry we don't talk about Latin politics and current world events going on in South America and stuff like that because we've had people upset that we don't.
For real?
Yeah.
People are like, why aren't you talking about Peru?
No, people have been like, hey, I clicked on your podcast thinking that it was going to be something informational, and what it means to be Hispanic or something like that. But you guys are just two idiots talking about,
growing up and telling goofy stories. And we're
exactly.
Okay, well.
That takes a lot of audacity.
Yeah, no, dude. That was
I fully respect it. I mean,
too.
yeah,
It was
it's
one of
enough to put a disclaimer.
One of the meanest DMs I've ever gotten. It's just cool. Yeah. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him.
How dare you make your podcast about what you chose?
That's what I'm saying. I think they're just mad that we named it what we did because I don't know.
We were just riding in the car on the way home one day when we were just talking about having a podcast, and somebody said Hispanic on Paper.
I thought it was me because our initial idea was partial credit, the partial credit podcast, which would have been very appropriate for us. Just because I don't know, our group chat name on Snapchat is called Class of 2023 Dropouts, and it's been named that for 4 years. But the issue is that now it's 2023, and now now it makes me sad. I don't know if you've gotten that yet, but yeah.
No, I did have something. I had a tangible piece of evidence of my academic ambition kind of fizzling.
Oh yeah.
It was the last bit of I was going through and making my budget on paper and stuff, and so as I was going through, I flipped to the back of the section of just a clean page, and the last one was my math homework, and it was February 2020, and I was there it was.
Yeah, that's
so
actually
right.
tragic. Yeah, man, good for you.
But I love my job now, and I've got
yeah.
great people.
Perfect. Well, everyone, this is Mr. Coomer. We don't call him that. We don't call him the thing he said. That's weird.
Yeah, the he who shall not be named.
Yeah. So if you've never checked us out before, we make it a habit of bringing on our old teachers or just people that we respect and that we learned a lot from. So that's why we have Mr. Coomer here today. Yeah. We're going to talk about some topics. We're going to talk about some things. We're going to talk about some ideas.
So Mr. Coomer.
Yeah. I'm going to dispel all of that positive capital that I built up. It's just going to be gone.
Yes.
Like all right.
Looking forward to it.
Good stuff.
But before we do, I'll be very brief with the most controversial question you've ever heard. All right.
Okay.
Marcos,
ready.
How was your week?
All right. My week.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It was a good week.
It was a good week. I finished the PC for Chris. Those of you who don't know, last week Brandon said he would just give us a PC.
Actually, that's not known yet.
Oh, okay.
We didn't talk about that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Brandon at the end of the
super lightning round recap. Brandon was at he came to volleyball last Thursday, and he was like, "Hey, I have a PC. I heard you guys needed an upgrade for Chris since he's doing all the editing and everything." And he goes, "Yeah, here you go." And it already had RAM, already had a power supply, CPU, everything that I needed.
Dedicated
GPU,
wham.
Dedicated wham. I bought a power supply, got a hard drive, whipped it all up, put it up, and Brandon, thank you. Sincerely, thank you.
Shout out, Brandon.
Chris's life way easier.
I don't know. You might have had him in your class too, actually, but I don't know.
I've had a lot of Brandons.
Yeah, a lot of white kid names for sure.
But yeah, that's pretty much my week. I built the PC, had fun. I learned how to do that for the first time, and it wasn't as bad once you realize the cables are all cut a specific way. So you're like, okay, it goes here, like Legos. It was like that.
Yeah, like Legos.
So
super easy, I bet.
Chris, how was your week?
My week was fantastic. It was a good week. So we're recording on a Friday, by the way. Today is Friday, February 10th. It's currently 10:24. Mm-hmm. We usually record on Tuesdays. We record every Tuesday, but we had to move it to Friday this week so that we could have on the go. That means greatest of all time.
I'm not that old.
Just making sure.
Okay.
But yeah, so I had to work ahead all week so that I could have this morning off. So it kind of worked out nicely.
Okay.
Funny story, my tire blew out yesterday on the road, and I got stuck under my work van, so that was nice. But I got saved, and I'm okay. But
to the rescue.
if I were a little bit dumber, I would have died. I was jacking up my car, the work van, on a slope, So like once it got to, so the funny thing is it was like perfectly fine long enough for me to get the tire off and then toppled over. So then I couldn't get the jack into where I had it originally. It's just a nightmare. Took like 2.5 hours. Yeah. And then we went and played volleyball and I had a really nice time. It was freaking cold last night though, but
It was. The wind was.
yeah.
Ooh, added some
Yeah.
extra chill,
it was
but
bully.
it was nice.
But Mr. Coomer, how was your week? Feel free to try and top that story. Go for it.
I absolutely can't. I mean, I work from home now, so like,
Yeah.
Okay.
this is the first time I've left the house since last Friday.
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
And thank you for doing so to
Oh,
join us.
That's crazy.
genuinely.
Yeah, it's probably not good that
Yeah,
I'm doing. I
maybe
tried
not.
not to do that, but this week was really busy with work, so like every single night was just like, eh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got two wins in PUBG. That was probably the
We have a PUBG player here, by the way, folks.
yeah.
That's
You can tell like, because I used to make fun of like people who are like 15 years older than me because they're still playing like you're playing things that are old, you're
Yeah.
using old slang, you're still listening to music.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's happening to you too.
yeah.
I'm telling you right
Oh,
now.
yeah,
like,
you could tell.
yeah, you can tell yourself it's not going to. You are
Oh,
going
I
to.
see.
Like you settle into things in your 30s,
Oh.
and you realize like I don't care. I don't care. And then like when younger
that
people
right
make
now.
fun of it, you're just like, yep.
Yeah, I get that.
No.
Interesting.
I feel that right now. I had a revelation of like I got grilled. So naturally, like the people who I
20 seconds, give me 20
work
seconds.
with, naturally the people who I work with, or at least the clientele that's there, demographic is a lot older because of snowbirds. So like I had not known what Freebird was in the name. So I was given a very, very detailed lecture on why Freebird is the greatest piece of American music that's like dropped, and I ended up making a ringtone for that guy. So I was like, all right, you can go. All right, go. And so I think like it's like having him be so expressive about that and so proud of that. You know, hey, it's that same mentality of like, you know, I like what I like, and
Yeah.
I respected him for that.
I respect that, but like I don't think that's an age thing. I think that's a bad taste.
That's just a
I
bad
respect
take.
that. I get that.
Freebird is at least like so. Context on that, I guess. Freebird is what people in my generation would tell like a band to play. To I'll try not to screw with them. Right?
Oh,
Like
nice.
if there's
Yeah.
play Freebird, that was just the standard. Like you're just being an asshole. thing.
Do something impossible.
Yeah, but it's not.
You don't think it's
not
like
a bad
good?
I would not even put that in like the top 10 of the canon of like American rock. music.
That's how my dad is with like Bohemian Rhapsody, where he just like doesn't give it any of the credit. I disagree with him on that one, but I'm like, Bohemian
think
Rhapsody is one of the greatest songs of all time. Like that's what I think.
I think it's overplayed. I can agree with people when they say it's overplayed because
Yeah.
it was definitely like a radio hit.
Yeah.
and so like they carry that nostalgia still to this
Maybe.
day. Like if you look up a that's so 80s playlist, you're gonna
Interesting. I have an interesting question to ask you. I've been meaning to ask you this all week. You
Okay.
ready? It's gonna seem weird. Do you do your own laundry or do you do your wife's laundry?
So like I do my own laundry sometimes.
Yeah.
So here's like this is how chores tend to split in my house.
get. Okay.
Hit me.
So there are certain things where my tolerance level of like this needs to be done is like way lower than my wife's. And those are the chores I end up doing.
that's just men.
Yeah. And then there are chores that like and this is always one of my complete broke brain person. For laundry, like I never escaped the mindset of like, okay, do I still have clean clothes that I can wear? Underwear check, socks
Yeah.
check, pants, shirt. Okay, none of it smells, we're good.
Yep.
My wife's tolerance is way lower on
Yeah.
that. So she ends up doing the laundry like every
Yeah, I
week.
gotcha.
And then so I'll fold it and put it away because I feel really bad.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Otherwise,
for
it's
sure.
like don't. But like when I was a bachelor,
Yeah.
which 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever, I would do my laundry like once every like week and a half, 2
Okay.
weeks.
Yeah, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, now it gets done like every 4 days, and it's like,
Yeah, there you go.
okay, cool.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I have four. I basically have 4 work shirts that I cycle out. They're literally one of 2 designs, so it's like I just cycle those out until until they're dirty, right?
yeah.
And then underwear, like I do laundry when I run out of underwear.
I got a tough one now.
And then there's B tier?
What about your bath towels?
Huh?
What about your bathroom towel?
My bathroom towel, I change.
How many uses?
How many uses? I go about anywhere. I'd say like
I think
4
I'm
to
in-
5. 4 to 5 days. 4 to 5 uses.
I think
and
I'm in like the 11 to 12 range where I'm like
Okay.
after like 10, 12 showers, I'm like
I just get
I should
par-
probably wash this now. There's enough dead skin cells on this thing.
yeah, something like that.
The reason why I asked you that was because me and my girlfriend had an interesting qualm. Qualms?
Quarrel?
Quarrel. Damn it.
I have
Shit. Wait, quarrel.
Yeah.
yeah, a quarrel, a scuffle,
What's a qualm?
a tiff.
Is a qualm a word?
I have zero qualms with you, meaning like,
Okay,
yeah, like
okay,
that's how
okay.
you would use that in context.
Shit, that was close. I was
Like,
close.
you know, like I don't have any static.
Okay.
no problem.
No static. That's tough. So basically, I was out of hangers. I was going through. I had like 4 more shirts to put up, and I was completely out of hangers. And my girlfriend progressively has been getting more and more clothes into my closet, which is fine. Usually would be fine. So I start going through her hangers, and I'm like, okay, like what's on here? What's on here? What's on here? What's on here? There were like 9 hangers that were taken up by like this much fabric, like for like a really small crop top tank top.
Folding a garment that looks.
Yeah, dude.
You're
So
putting that on a hanger.
yeah, so for those of you on audio, it's like imagine like a crop top, but it's literally like spaghetti strap, and
Yeah.
that's taking up one whole hanger.
No, it should be 3 of those on one.
That's what I'm saying. where
You
I'm like-
load one on the front, load actually one over the actual middle
exactly.
portion, and then you put one in the back.
So I was sarcastically fuming, where I'm just like, no,
this is BS.
no, I'm an idiot. You're right. No, for sure.
sure.
Are you sure? Are you sure the whole closet shouldn't be taken up by one of these? Like, just take all my hangers. Why don't you? Meanwhile, I have these big ass overcoats that are like, you know, the hangers vibrating with the amount of tension that's on it right now. But yeah, I thought that'd be a funny question to ask you, just to kind of get a gauge of that. But yeah, perfect. Okay, sweet.
You know, you can buy hangers for like,
yeah.
it's like 20 for like $2 or something.
So since we have, but it was just that specific instance where I'm like, I don't know. I think you know, this is a Gen Z kind of slang term. Is I just had time that day.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you just don't have time. I don't have time for this. That day, dog, I had time. You know, but yeah. Nowadays, I'm just wanting to go on one of those tours in Europe with the things with the 2 wheels and the
A bicycle?
Bike?
no 2 wheel. It's like electric, and it's like you stand on it and you like lean.
Like a mono wheel, like a hoverboard.
It's got 2 wheels. You stand on it.
I feel like you're describing some alternate
yeah.
universe technology. Where, like,
He came out of steampunk last night.
What is it?
A Segway?
A Segway.
God dang.
Gotcha.
you were talking about a Segway? Why were you talking about a Segway in Europe? Are
Damn
those
it.
popular in Europe?
No, like you go on Segway tours in Europe. Yeah.
Oh.
I feel like a fucking idiot. So check it out. I've been planning this all morning. Speaking of Segways, let's talk. I was like, yeah. that was my plan all morning. I was like, oh,
We
I'm gonna
just
get him.
completely sabotaged
Yeah,
the
you really
transition.
did. You really did. That would have been cold too. You've never seen anyone do that before. You would have seen me do like.
I was expecting you were going to be talking about like gondolas or
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't have said Europe. Maybe Europe is what threw it off.
It's like those Boston Dynamic dogs.
Yeah.
that you
Oh,
see, like,
exactly.
walking around.
Exactly. What was the first thing on our list? I can't remember.
First thing on our list was talking about
solar.
Solar panels.
yeah.
Son of a bitch. I had it. All right. So speaking of segues, let's talk about solar panels. I've been Marcos. Actually, you lead this one.
Okay, so our first topic that we wanted to come in mind with was talking about the idea of solar panels and that they should be mandatory on every single U.S. home.
Single family home. Yeah.
Single family home. So basically, we're not including what
Apartment
complexes, major major like skyscrapers, stuff like that.
Yeah. Nothing commercial.
Just talking about a residential picket fence, nuclear family.
So, Mr. Coomer, tomorrow Marcos and I become president, and we enact this law where it's like every single one of these has to happen.
I get my cabinet assembled.
Okay.
Is that good or bad?
I mean, question 1. Are we throwing out questions of like constitutionality or whatever else? So you said become president. I'm assuming just because it's going to make for more interesting discussion, we're not going to worry about like.
Well, I'm 35.
Okay. Well, right. But like that's also a good point. Actually, I didn't even think about that. But no, like we're not going to evaluate like from a legal standpoint. Is this policy
Can we
something
do
that you
this?
could enact without the Supreme Court just going?
So I'd like to say, so the answer to your question is yes. We're going to ignore all of the semantics and all that crap. But for the meantime, can you tell us what you mean? What red tape would there be? Why couldn't we do that theoretically?
So, that's a good question. So first, let me.
I did it.
You did, yeah. Yes. Let me preface this by saying I am not a constitutional lawyer.
Okay.
I'm not a constitutional expert. You guys had Liz on
Yeah.
a few months ago. She would be way better for answering this question.
Mrs. Evans.
Do you know what Mr. Coomer is though? He's that guy.
He's him.
He may not be a constitutional lawyer.
No.
But that guy.
He's him. We're built our way, but he's built different. All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Man, the just side note, the proliferation of he's him is killing me. Like, I'm sure listening, Chris, I know you play fantasy football too, so like the number of times, like anytime you want to research a player now, it's like Garrett Wilson is him. Like they can't all be him. It really bugs me. Like there should be one him per position.
I don't know if you've seen the TikTok of the kid eating a cookie and he's like, "That's my favorite," and then he has another one. He's like, "That's my favorite," and then he keeps going, "That's my favorite." And the guy, there's a guy like doing commentary over. He's like, "You can't have 4 favorites. You can't have a favorite means one. It means you have one favorite." But I respect that wholeheartedly. Yeah, we can't all be him. Only Mr. Coomer.
No, not me. But just from, initial like reaction to that first, and this is why it's like a boring discussion. I don't really think the Supreme Court, even if it was constitutional, like given that the Supreme Court is at this point largely a political body and given its composition, like for all 4 of the propositions you showed me, like they're going to find a reason to just go like,
that's lame.
Move along.
yeah, like
That's not cool.
If there's like grounds to dismiss it, they'll dismiss it on a 6-3.
How come?
Maybe a 5-4. Because it's like kind of captive to moneyed political.
Can we fix it
at that point?
Can Gen Z fix it?
Yes, but not quickly.
What would be so? In this case, though, would private or public be better? Would be a better route for? So, like the way that you said it is that if you became president, you would just do that tomorrow. So this would be owned by like the government. You would say. Would all solar panel production?
So the way I would do it is I would find like the 5 biggest solar panel companies in Arizona.
Okay.
And I would basically give some sort of rebate where I'm going to say, hey, go and quote all these houses, however much this is going to cost. It's tough because like realistically the government should be covering all of it, but for this to have worked, like I don't know, I guess for it to sell, we'd be like, okay, the consumer or the resident can cover half and the government will cover half, but quote everything like it's normal. And I thought that it would cause an influx in jobs. Like a ton of people would go be applying to these. I don't know. Like now, I painted this like perfect world where that would then become a federal job. So like you can get paid like a federal employee, get federal employee benefits like a mailman. You know.
So you'd say that it would be the same as like somebody working for like the city of Chandler. The city of Chandler would go out to people's homes, install those solar panels, or like it would be through those companies.
So you go play like you pay Johnson and Sons solar panels.
Yeah.
You pay them, but they are federal government employees.
Okay.
So
are you nationalizing the solar panel industry then?
yeah.
Okay, so why even have like Johnson and Sons exist then? Why not just say like, all right, this is going to be the government is going to get in the business
Okay.
of like constructing
That
these
makes
solar
sense.
They're
panels.
going to be the business.
Well, could we just buy out all of the companies then? Because they already know how to do it. So in terms of like efficiency, cost effectiveness, and all that, like I figured from me being a reasonable business person that like go get the guys that already know how to do it.
Yeah.
so with the government,
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, is the government going to make deals? Is the government going to make deals in directly producing them, or are they going to like have these companies as like subsidiaries where they pay them to make those solar panels?
They pay the companies to do it.
Yep.
The company
To produce and to install.
Johnson and Son, to buy. So like shit, that's tough. I don't know. So I guess the way I saw it in my head was the companies would just operate like normal, but half of the invoice would go to the home and the other half of the invoice would go to Uncle Sam.
So it's going to be heavily subsidized, but required that homeowners have solar panels on their house.
So I guess we never posed the question. The initial question that Marcos and I had asked Mr. Coomer was like, let's make solar panels mandatory for everyone everywhere in the U.S. Like, why not? What's stopping us? Why can't we? Why shouldn't we? That type of thing. So this is us discussing that because I don't know. Like every major expert scientist says it's already too late to save the world, but it's like, well,
I'm not an environmental scientist, but I don't think the broad position is it's too late to save the world.
Yeah.
It's more it's too late to avoid some of the like
the bad stuff.
yeah the bad stuff that's going to. And I mean, to be honest, there's a good argument that we're already seeing a lot of that bad stuff happening. But
Google microplastics.
Microplastics.
in your bloodstreams,
Yeah.
in your babies. Propaganda.
yeah.
In Antarctica.
And Antarctica. Yeah, they found
Yeah.
like microplastics.
So that's cool.
Yeah, they
What?
found microplastics in glacier samples.
Yeah, it's rad.
That's terrifying.
It's super rad.
And they don't. So there was also, I don't know who did the study. This is just going to be off of what I remember from probably a year or two ago, something like that. There was some sort of college that was trying to do a study on the effects of microplastics on the human bloodstream, and they were trying to get a control group, and they could not find somebody who did not have that.
Oh, that's funny.
So they could not pose like the who's good and like what is the bad.
Interesting.
It was just we're gonna
Okay.
take this and run with it.
Yeah, that's whack. Okay, so if we could kind of, so the issue being the government wouldn't, so there's like a lot of manufacturing and production issues, less labor issues, because we kind of have the labor there, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have the ability to produce.
Yeah.
Off top of head, I think like issue one that pops up to me, and I am not a supply chain management expert either. So
Yeah.
these are all like when you guys like pop me up as the goat or whatever else, like man, as you guys get older, you're gonna realize like I'm a generalist. I know a lot of stuff a little bit.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
when we get into these things,
The
like
nitty gritty.
yeah, you really have to defer to experts to be able to answer a lot of that. That's honestly that's the
like it.
terrifying thing about modern society is there's a lot of you have to trust people to know
Yeah,
more than you do.
that's
and
true.
That's not something people are good at. Everyone wants to do their own research or
Yeah.
whatever else.
But all your research is based on other people's research.
Yeah.
and- yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, I mean, like the first thing is just for solar as like your broad power infrastructure, you also need batteries to go with it.
And
Yeah. Why is that?
the implications that you have to store that power. It can't just directly.
Okay. Oh, I knew
You
that.
have
I
to
knew
have
that.
some,
Yeah.
so are these batteries? These batteries are typically what
Lithium ion?
Lithium ion.
Yeah.
So lithium has a huge, I would say it does have an impact.
So there's the environmental impact. I
Yeah.
think that's overblown. To be honest, like something you have to be mindful of when you do like environmental research, especially when you start looking at like cost benefits of like alternative energy.
Who wrote it?
The oil and gas industry has literally since like the 70s, when they commissioned studies on climate change and got answers they didn't want and went. No, literally, like that's what they did. They went, oh, never mind.
Never mind.
So, but they
forget I asked. Yeah.
they commission lots of studies to basically, and you can do this with, you can hack data or set up your study however you want to
Yeah.
get the result you want. To suggest, or at least to muddy the waters on
Yeah.
like, are renewables really better than the environment? So like the canard of like, your electric car is actually no better than a fossil fuel car because you have to mine lithium ion out of the earth, and
Yeah.
that's complete horseshit. Like it
Really?
it's an electric car is still going to have a small. There's not a zero carbon footprint. Like that's
Yeah.
a fair point.
Yeah.
Really, that's an argument for like maybe we shouldn't design our cities to be as car centric as they are.
Yeah.
But that's
Ooh.
Yeah. So public, so
yeah.
like walking infrastructure.
yeah, that'd be nice.
Not car centric.
One of my favorite quotes I've ever read. It said
Arizona's like that. It makes
It
you
said
sad.
it said like a maximized modern society is not one where everyone has cars. It's where public transportation is so efficient that the rich are using buses and shit like that. You know.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay.
But the actual like the big issue once you start talking about scaling solar to like every house
Yeah.
in the United States is that's a lot of lithium.
Yeah.
And in terms of sourcing, like rare earth metals like that, a lot of it's in China, and then there's a lot in Africa. And China has been, P.S. kind of for this reason, like strategically developing like relationships with a lot of African nations to get kind of like
Okay.
so. Doesn't mean you couldn't do it, but
Yeah.
like that would. My initial instinct is that's probably going to be the big price point for you
Yeah.
is sourcing enough lithium to make. I mean,
Okay.
God, how many households are there? How many houses are there in the United States?
142 million as
You guys look, yeah, okay,
we did,
so-
yeah.
yeah.
Holy shit.
That's good research, man.
Yes,
So
sir.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Wait, hold on. We researched. We did not know that. We we had to research that.
a little bit,
yeah.
here and there.
I mean, that's how people learn everything. You say
I guess
that,
that's true.
You say that like that's like it's not
I
impressive.
guess that's
like,
true. I guess that's why I know. Like, yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
I can't
like
say I can't say for certain how much I genuinely like internalized when I was researching stuff, but like I had to reteach myself a lot of basic like economic terminology, and then kind of just it brought me down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Like my thought process was like, okay, well, why is something like energy like this, like solar, not being the standard
Yeah.
right now? So then we have that. So companies like that face a profit motive of what is it? They have to continuously. You have to make it appealing for those companies
Yeah.
to want to do it.
Yeah, which is
Right?
sucks.
And then those companies in turn, like if people are going to be paying for those, they have to be able to, what is it? They all have to be in a position to afford that. So we're not, or are we not including Section 8 housing? Are we not including like low income households? What's the median income that we would need to consider if somebody would need to put up installation for solar panels? Because it goes from anywhere, I believe, from $15,000 to $40,000
Yeah.
for installation
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So how big of a break
not
are you
cheap,
going to
yeah.
cut? Like the family
Yeah.
or the company?
It's not cheap.
That's like, yeah, it's super interesting. Like, but I just, what?
Well, no, like I agree that we couldn't do it. Like
Well,
realistically.
I don't.
You don't think so?
No, I think we absolutely could do it.
We just don't want to.
Yeah, it's the tricky thing about the way our political system is set up.
Yeah.
Is like there's a strong preference towards short-term benefits
Yeah,
relative
that's
to
true.
long-term cost. So short-term, you have a huge upfront cost.
Yeah.
The status quo is cheap,
Yeah.
relatively speaking. Long-term, the status quo is really expensive, but like terms for members of the House are 2 years. Terms for the Senate is 6. Right? If you're running for re-election, and your
don't
position
want-
is,
okay.
we're going to make you do something that's going to cost you $25,000 per taxpayer or whatever else.
Yeah.
And over the course of, even if the payoff is like 10 years from now, people don't look at
16 years.
yeah. People don't look at that and go like, oh, you made me better off 16 years from now. They go, my tax bill's too damn high. And so,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that sucks ass.
yeah. It's there's a lot about our system that isn't really designed for,
Long term, but
Yeah.
I forget who it was. It was like Sun Tzu or something. Like I think we talked about this already, but like someone said
The Art of War.
the art of, yeah, something
that
like that.
book.
It was like the greatest politician knows that they're planting seeds of a tree that they'll never sit in the shade in, or they'll never sit in the shade of, or something like that. Where it's like, I think that's
pretty devout
badass.
wisdom.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't have that. But China loves America, so I feel like they'd probably hook it up, right?
I mean, I think there's a lot of like xenophobia where
Yeah.
people assume like China is gonna like, they're gonna take over, and literally like I've been hearing that since I was like 7 years old. Like that is
Really?
that's yeah, like
I didn't know that.
when I was, you guys probably heard it too from like random social studies
oh,
teachers
yeah.
in middle school or whatever. Like China's going to be the dominant country. I heard when I was in 6th grade, I had a social, and that was in a different country too. I was in Costa Rica at the time, but like I had a social studies teacher in Costa Rica, and then
Yeah.
I had a social studies teacher back in the United States in like 8th grade who was like, "Yep." By the time you're 20, China's going to be the dominant country. Like, and what they do is they look at the charts of GDP or whatever, and it's like the U.S. is like this, and China's like this, and they just extrapolate. And what actually is happening is like China's got a lot of problems too.
Really?
Yeah.
When you got
It's-
that many people, that big of a landmass.
One-
yeah,
1.4
there's well, and there's also
COVID restrictions right now for
Yeah.
supply chain production.
and China's growth economically, militarily, or whatever else has largely been contingent on, and what let them kind of slingshot close
Yeah.
to other world powers is a really good strategy.
Yeah.
But we're going to encourage companies to come in, but in exchange, you are going to give us basically like Chinese companies can steal your intellectual property.
Yeah.
okay.
I don't know.
So
yeah.
that's a really good way to catch up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's not necessarily a great way to pass
Yeah.
countries, and they
Because you're
don't
still
really-
behind.
So they don't really have, and like I don't want to say they don't have like research and development because they absolutely do, but like their infrastructure for innovation
Yeah.
is not better than the United States.
Interesting.
At least to my understanding.
I'm not gonna straight up like rip Joe Rogan, but I just saw a clip where he talked about the TikTok terms of services, and it was like just flagrant. Like, yeah, we're gonna look at everything you do all the time.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I mean that's true.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. So I mean, I think
Yeah,
that's just a
TikTok
testament
is-
to that.
Basic and always has been, but like it's pretty much literally like Chinese spyware.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's incredible. Yeah, you opt into it. Like what? I mean, even if someone does have an issue with it, they're gonna be like, "Hey, dude."
A funny video.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Make me go, haha, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You watched how to build a slingshot tutorial yesterday. Like, it's fine if we listen to your day-to-day conversations. Like,
We just lower people's attention spans to 6-second comedy, and if it's any less gratifying than that, they don't want to do anything. So we nip it in the bud right there.
Exactly. All right. So the solar panel thing, not realistic, but doable.
So
Interesting.
let me ask, why tie it to houses?
I don't know. I just said that. I don't like. Would it be better to have like solar fields?
Well, you ignite birds in midair. Like there's a solar field in Nevada. I drove past it one time, and it was.
Did you see a bird like blow up? Or?
Oh no! But I've seen videos. It's crazy. So like you'll just be. They said that it actually like encroached on like wildlife populations pretty bad because you just have flocks of birds. Hey, solar panels. What do? They absorb sunlight. What's going to happen? They
heat
reflect.
up,
They refract or reflect whatever the word is.
Yeah.
Birds. They said literally like they'll just see charred. Like remains because they'll just ignite mid-flight. It's like a magnifying glass effect.
Yeah.
And then their wings go up and then
I feel bad. That's so badass. That's super sick. That's tragic. That's awful. That's not cool. That's not good.
Ghost Rider's the man.
But that's
'cause he
badass.
just constantly is on fire.
That's sick though.
But so yeah, so then you would have like the implication of like, okay, what's the environmental effect? What's it gonna have on the local ecosystems?
Yeah.
What are we willing to sacrifice? Who's going to make that call?
So would it be better if we did just like copious amounts of solar fields and all this other stuff?
I mean, honestly hadn't considered the point about the environmental impact of, which is shameful. I should have.
Honestly, I'm disappointed. Yeah.
I am too.
What if we?
Let's pack it up.
Up to the next guest, folks. No. Well, hey, hear me out. What if we just do a solar panel field with like the Topgolf nets? Just
It's
problem solved.
They're still gonna fly over. Those are still see-through. You're just gonna burn the nets.
I mean, I'm skeptical mostly because again, there's a long history of, and if you like, this is gonna sound. You guys used to ask. Maybe not you specifically, but students always ask, like, what conspiracy theories do you think are true? And I'd be like, not very many, but like, this is...
Hollow Earth.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
JFK.
Yeah, the mole people, yes. Absolutely. Totally down there now.
I was so excited. I was like, no way.
He's like tinfoil hat. He's like, oh God.
The flashlight, the forehead flashlight.
But when I hear stories like that, the first thing that always comes into my head, and it is like, is someone funding this? Because there are personalities on social media who get a check from, like, literally take a check from the Koch Foundation, take a check from
HP.
oil and gas, yeah, or a subsidiary to essentially produce like anti-alternative energy propaganda.
Okay.
That's cool.
So
yeah, you're literally just brand influencers at this point.
Yeah, that's
so,
sick.
Like and the bird thing especially, like that's a big thing people say against windmills, and it's like
Doesn't happen as frequently.
yeah, it's really not true. Like so,
I've seen it happen.
yeah, I'm sure
Natural
it does
selection at that
sometimes.
point.
But, like, first,
Stop being a dumb bird.
I guarantee you, if we take a walk around your complex, we're gonna see like at least two people's cats that they just kind of like let roam out. Right?
Yeah.
So that's like. I guarantee you those cats kill more damn birds than
Yeah.
no, like 100%. Like
yeah.
they will. Cats are incredibly environmentally destructive.
Yeah. Well, that's what is it? I think in the UK there's like a stray cat problem. Like it just there's no birds.
That's the funniest shit I've ever heard. That's funny.
That's the funniest thing you've ever heard.
What's the windmill thing? I don't know what that is.
What? Birds get hit by windmills.
That's freaking hilarious.
They get literally karate chopped at Mach 1 force. Like the amount of like energy, like the amount of like weight that just it just chops them.
I totally get it. I didn't know that was like an issue.
It's not though. That's
It's just a
something
funny
that's
snippet.
something that got advanced as like a you don't want to be. You think that this natural gas power plant that emits like 100,000 times more carbon than like solar production. You think that's bad?
Well,
this
what
is
about
killing
birds?
endangered birds, right?
Yeah.
Like, so they're both, and it's a red herring. Like,
Interesting.
The frequency of that is
nice
way
pun.
lower than implied.
That was a good pun.
Rest in peace to the red herring that probably got hit.
Very nice. Very nice. That was a good pun.
Wow.
Look
Yeah.
at that.
Triple layered, am I right?
Yeah, look at that.
Gosh, like birds of a feather. That was right. I said that right.
Yeah, no, you got that right.
Yeah, I just no one laughed, so I was like,
Sounds rolled. No,
perfect. All right. Well, so
I did want to think of something because we actually did have that discussion a long time ago. Not you and I, but the class as in general.
Mr. Kuma was our econ teacher. I don't know if we said that by the
Yes,
way. And
he
our
was
our senior year of high school, we had different classes along with Tim as well.
Yeah, we all had different hours.
Yeah. So that's why he's here now. And just to put him on blast, it took him like way longer to respond to me than I would have liked. But it's like it's totally fine. Like, he's
If
here
it
now.
makes you feel better, I'm that exact same way with like literally everyone but my wife. I don't. This is again like old man things. I don't keep my phone in the same room as myself. Wow. Because like
That's respectable.
yeah, but like especially with my weird hours because I'm working with people in other time zones and sometimes other countries, but I'll see text messages at like 2 a.m. and be like, okay, I don't have the bandwidth.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'll respond to this later. So that's why you might have noticed like every time I did respond was like the next Friday.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's because I would be off again and be like, okay, let's go
cool.
through. Who
That's
do I
funny.
need to respond
That reminds
to?
me. I need to text my mom back. That's really funny.
Yeah, I have a text from my mom right now that's like 3 days ago.
That's awful.
That's like, hey, your godfather's in town. Do you want to like see him
that's
this
so
weekend?
bad.
And it's like,
You
yeah,
gotta respond.
I will.
Okay.
I'll get there. It's on my to-do
That's
list.
fair. That's
Next
fair.
Friday.
That's
Yeah.
is he in
Sorry, I
town?
missed him.
Is he in town for 10 days? That's perfect. Hell yeah. All right. What did you want to bring up, sir?
Oh, I was going to say, one of the concerns that you initially brought up when we had the discussion all that time ago is because it immediately jogged my memory when you brought it up, and I thought it was a really cool topic.
It qualmed your memory? Quarreled your memory?
These nuts, no. No, the thing that you talked about was that like there was a small study done in a city in Northern California where they went all solar, and what happened was they ended up supplying so much power that they had to sell it off.
I don't remember the study.
I don't know if it was a study or if it was just like somebody did it.
So
but
so that's an issue, but that's also one that's like, if we look at this hypothetical plan,
Yeah.
you have to assume that there's infrastructure, and that's a lot of that is like the batteries, right? So a problem with things like solar in general is, power grids require not just, and we don't think about this because we don't typically have an abundance of energy.
Yeah.
But it's not just that you need to have enough power to meet demands on the grid. You also can't have too much.
Yeah,
Because then you'll overload the grid.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, to be honest, I'm a really big proponent of nuclear.
What are your thoughts on thorium reactors? Have you looked into that at all? Like,
Not enough.
okay, so
to speak
there's oh sorry, go ahead.
No,
first.
go for it.
Oh,
Yeah.
so I was gonna say, so a lot of people's like apprehensions with nuclear energy as far as what people think it is. Generally, there's always been a big misconception because of Fukushima, because of Chernobyl, that just has a naturally bad lingering stigma against nuclear energy, and that's ingrained to our society today.
It was great for Hollywood.
It was great for Hollywood. They had a field day. Chernobyl was a great show on
a
HBO
phenomenal
Max.
show.
Yeah. One of those things though, somebody was posing like the waste that's produced from plutonium and to basically contain a thermal runaway. It's something of that level. You have to pump a lot of energy to get plutonium, that specific isotope, to react and create that power.
Okay.
Thorium doesn't take nearly as much from a comparative standpoint. I don't know the exact thing. I'm not a nuclear,
physicist.
I'm not a nuclear physicist. I don't deal in energy. At the most, I've swapped a battery.
I've never heard of thorium, so this is
Yeah. But I would actually implore you to look into that a little bit further. So basically, it doesn't produce as much radioactive waste. It takes less to charge it up, and it is less likely to go haywire for that.
Yeah. Interesting. So, I mean, modern nuclear plants in general, if properly built, like literally can't. The one we have you guys know we have a nuclear plant, right?
Yeah.
So I have a friend who used to work there. She works somewhere else now. She
wow.
actually works for SRP now, which is really funny.
That is funny. What the hell?
Change
Dude,
teams.
yeah, for real. She changed teams.
But we got to take a tour of it once because she worked there.
Oh, that's sick.
Dude, it's so cool. Like, it's one of those things. It's the closest I'll come to getting to travel in space. I don't know if you guys have ever heard. There's like this phenomenon where you go into space where like people have this like profound sense of perspective about the human race and like, oh, we're all together when they.
It's an enlightening experience.
Like psychedelics almost?
I mean, probably, yeah. But like, I feel like touring that nuclear plant is the closest as like a plebe who can't afford a like $100 million trip to space or whatever the tourism cost is. Like you get this sense of scale and like human accomplishment. Like, holy crap,
we did this.
We built this.
Yeah.
But anyways, one of the takeaways is that nuclear plant, literally, if everyone working in that plant right now said,
Meh.
yeah, this is boring, and just left. If everyone just went up, all that would happen is that after a couple of hours, it would stop producing power.
Wow.
Modern nuclear plants are walkaway safe. They can't
That's
actually,
good.
like, what happened in Chernobyl literally is physically impossible in a modern nuclear plant.
Oh,
because-
modern. I thought we were about to get into some deeper shit where I was like,
No, like the Chernobyl plant, instead of the reactions being something where, like, you have to keep feeding into it,
Yeah.
it built off of itself, which meant that you
ran
have to
away.
like actively manage to make sure that
gotcha. Interesting.
You had to offload like a lot of that.
So
Interesting.
really, the only potential downsides to one is cost, because to build them that way is expensive.
yeah.
But one nuclear power plant supplies energy for 4 states.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
oh,
Do you want one more?
Yes, please.
and then the other issue, honestly, is just disposal of waste. But then again, like this is me being, maybe I've been infiltrated by big nuclear because I got to go on the tour. But like one of the things we went out and saw is like the storage of all the nuclear waste, and that plant's been open since the 80s.
Yeah.
And all of the nuclear waste that plant has produced since the 80s fits in like 4 concrete silos.
Okay.
Like it basically would take up like half of the parking lot I parked in to store all of the nuclear waste for the last 40 years. So
Wow.
it's like,
And then I don't know how you truly how you negate the effects of nuclear waste on the environment. Like I don't know what the byproduct looks like. Is it just bad water? Is it just like
so I mean, it's radiation.
radiation?
So what
Okay.
what you have is you have
Okay.
so you have to contain it somewhere where it can't, and you can't. I mean, if you put it at the bottom of a pool, basically a deep enough pool, that's a temporary storage solution because it can't.
Well, then,
But
I mean,
I'm explaining this
Hold
very
on.
poorly, by the way, because I am not a physicist.
put it in the ocean.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Just like your car batteries.
exactly.
Just lob those off the side.
Safe and legal thrill, yeah.
Legal thrill.
that'd be perfect. I don't see a downside.
I was
Hell yeah.
thinking. I thought of another thing that people could immediately think of is San Onofre in California. But if you compare most likely that power plant to what you visited, night and day. There was literally like inspectors being paid off. They were really close to a meltdown. They were really close to a meltdown because those concrete pillars that supported them and that basically supported the reaction that occurred were shot. They were bad. And they just continuously were like, hey, look the other way. Here's a quick check. Here's a buck. We're making money. Let's go.
Yeah, you are admittedly
Paired.
dependent on a non-captive regulatory body to make sure that the power plant is being properly built and maintained.
Yeah.
Because, and that's, I mean, not to say Fukushima was improperly maintained. It was arguably not properly built for something that was in, like, prime earthquake zone. But, like, yeah, because there is, and this is capitalism, like there is a cost-cutting incentive for the company running the power plant to say, like, yeah, because, I mean, this is, again, with nuclear, like, it's really expensive to maintain properly. Not as expensive as the environmental costs. But that plant they have to do maintenance every year. I think it's like they literally have to shut down a reactor and go through a whole thing.
Which is losing money.
Yeah.
And-
So
Damn.
So if you can pay someone off as a company and just say like, hey, don't worry.
Check mark.
Yeah.
Just check your box on your stupid clipboard.
So it's a fair point, and I guess that's probably given that regulatory capture has certainly happened before.
Yeah.
Maybe you do want to just go solar and wind.
There's some guy who's like, hey, you know what rhymes with pass? Fast, bro. I got a G-Wagon on the parking lot for you. You just
Yeah. Keys.
Hey.
You like these keys? Yep. Oh, check your box. Check your box on your little clipboard. Cocoa melon. Hell yeah. All right. Well, I feel like we covered that relatively comfortably. Good shit.
Yeah.
All right. Solar panels equals possible, but not possible with. I don't know. I didn't really.
I think it's possible. It's a question of whether there's political will to do it.
yeah.
Damn
Our-
you, politics.
Are like gas and oil lobbyists like going to give any leeway for these people to enter that field?
Probably not. Hell yeah. All right. Well, I got a little bit of a silly question for you guys. So Marcos like scoffed in my face when I asked this question.
I hope I do again, and I remember.
Belligerent douchebag about it, you know?
Dude, don't even fib yourself.
Dude, it's a whole douche move. So, hear me out. So, we all work for a lemonade stand,
Okay.
right? I just found out.
Who runs the lemonade stand?
John C.
John
Lemon.
Oh, I thought you were going to say John Cena. I was going to say John Cena. So you said John C. And I was like, what the hell? No way. John Cena.
Okay.
Professional wrestler.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Not the actor one. Only the...
You never see him.
Yep, ever.
You know.
So
I was just trying to work that joke in and figure out a way.
So that's good. You and I both make 25 cents an hour.
Okay.
Well, you and I just found out that he makes 50 cents an hour, and he does the same amount of work. If actually,
No, is our job title the same? Illicitly, is our job title the same?
No, same job title.
Okay.
We've been working there longer.
Okay.
We do a better job. You do a shitty job, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Tell me what you think about that.
Still getting some extra
So-
bankroll.
This happens every day. In everyday society, people find out that people with less tenure, people who do a more crappy job, show up late, whatever, and they're getting paid the same or they're getting paid less. So, tell me what you think about this little idea, because you and I have total control of this lemonade stand now. Should it be public information how much everyone in the entire world makes, or country makes, I guess? Or shit, this is your Arizona.
Kind of.
Perfect.
That's,
All right,
Yeah, no.
wrap it up.
moving on. Yeah. On to the next one.
So,
That's it, guys. Welcome back.
59.
so I guess like here was my initial reaction to that question. How are you like distributing that information, and how is it? So is it like I go to a website and I can type in like Chris Francis, and it's going to show me like
Where you work.
how much money you make.
And where you live.
Right. Well, I mean, so
IP address.
genuinely, like one of the first thoughts I had is
Security?
Yeah. Well, and just from like this,
So-
it's a dark place to go, but like
Yeah,
I got it.
let's say I go ahead.
No, please.
Finish.
So let's say I'm in like a domestic violence situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I escape my abusive ex and I move to another state, like I did, that's a thing that happens
All the time.
Okay, yeah.
Can my abusive ex just be like, where the hell is he?
Yeah.
Oh, I know what city
Okay.
you're in now.
Yeah.
And yeah. Interesting.
From a protecting like people's privacy standpoint, that
yeah.
would be
That's a very realistic
Yeah.
concern.
I mean, you and I right now. I mean, I try to practice like anonymity with my job. At least
me.
just not saying like the actual place where I work.
Yeah,
but,
no,
like,
yeah.
I loosely talk about what
I'm very open about how much I make. I'm very open. I just only where I work.
I reserve that information.
Yeah. So here's what I think. The solution to that would be, which is still kind of, I guess it's not technically an issue, only internally. So the way we would enforce that is that we do some type of bill, some type of law or something like that, where every company, because every company has a portal.
they're required to post people's salaries.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so on your little website, on your company portal, up here it's PTO. Up here it's your schedule. Right here it's I don't know whatever.
What everyone else in your position in the company makes.
Boom. So
Hard in favor. Absolutely agree.
love or not even in your position.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so your position, supervisor position, and their pays, and like boom, this is how much they make hourly. I mean, maybe not like bonuses or whatever. I don't know how you would do that in the portal, but like
That'd probably be like some sort of. You'd probably have like quarterly incentives that you would total.
Boom.
You would
That's
tally
the next tab over. Like here's their bonuses. Your bonus was $200 last year on Christmas, and like I don't know. So hard in favor.
Yeah,
And why do
absolutely.
you think that is?
So there's not a single answer to this, but probably I would argue the biggest problem in our economic system, like the big story that is lurking behind almost every other economic issue we have, is the fact that wages have not grown to match productivity from like 1982 onward. Like if you look at graphs of like wages and productivity in the United States, it's like this, and then you get to like 1981, 1982, and productivity goes and wages go. And
Interesting.
there's a lot of explanations for that. And there's a lot of potential solutions to that. But one big part of that, or at least something that can help, is people's salary information is, you have what's in economics, we call this an information asymmetry. Businesses know exactly what they're paying every single employer.
Yeah.
They know the going rate, the going value
Yeah.
of your labor. They know exactly what it is, right? They also have that productivity data. You don't. You, as an employee, are completely in the dark.
Yeah.
Right? And so the result of that is businesses have a huge negotiation advantage relative
Yeah.
to workers. Now, the way that used to kind of be leveled off is there used to be much stronger unionization in the United
Yeah.
States,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
that's a separate question.
Yeah.
But let's just take as given that that's not coming back.
Yeah.
So
All
one of the ways that you can at least leverage some of the advantages of a union without going full scale, like let's have hardcore unionization again, is centralizing that information
Yeah.
so that every employee can actually negotiate from a position of equal information. I am firmly in favor of that. You'll hear a lot of employers who will argue that's going to create discord within my organization.
No shit.
Yeah, to which the obvious answer is like, then maybe like
Yeah.
don't try to like lowball your
Exactly,
valuable
yeah.
employees. Like,
Exactly. So the reason why I brought this up, Mr. Coomer, is because I worked in a kitchen, and this happened 2 separate occasions where there was a manager who'd been working there for like 6 years, and he'd been working. He got his 25-cent raise every quarter. You know, every year he got a $1 raise. Pretty cool. And then, just like he found out that like some 17-year-old kid with a shitty ponytail and a face tat got hired on at the same amount that he's making. And he's just like, what the hell? This is ridiculous. And they got up and walked out. I've seen that happen 2 times now. And now, I've been into the corporate America stuff where they make it abundantly clear, do not discuss your wages with anybody.
Whoa, that's illegal.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Or so
I've never had that.
no, it's happened to me. It happened to my girlfriend. My girlfriend had a 8x11 freaking above the water fountain that said, please do not discuss your wages or what you make with
She should take a picture of that and report them to the National Labor Relations Board.
Why is that? How's that? Is that's illegal? Yeah.
Yes.
What?
It's incredibly illegal.
How
You
come?
can't do because there are literally laws against companies forbidding or even discouraging.
Wow.
Even discouraging?
Discouraging.
Wow.
Considering it taboo is illegal. Wow.
Well, I mean, like how you enforce that is. But like if a company, the idea is a company can't just be like, hey, we really don't think you should share salary information, because the implication there is you will be in trouble if you share salary information.
Yeah.
Which again, the rules are you can't stop your employees from
Yeah.
discussing.
So there's like a social threat overweighing that's like, hey, if you do this could hurt your career opportunity in this company.
I asked one of my managers last week. I literally asked him. I was like, how much do you make? Please. Like, I need to know if my future with this company is worth my time.
Yeah.
No disrespect.
That's a valid
But
question.
if the number, if X isn't X, then I might as well find something else to do where X is higher. And he just told me that he couldn't tell me that. And I so badly, like, I didn't, with his new information, maybe I might be inclined to press a little bit harder next time. But
the law doesn't require.
oh
that
no,
they share
completely.
theirs.
I mean,
Yeah,
and it's
but
like it's a dick move to ask the way I did. I recognize that wholeheartedly, but it's
I
also
disagree, but
well,
yeah.
it was because
I think it's a completely valid question.
Yeah,
You're
like, hey,
assessing your career opportunities.
and he's
right there.
like, you're my manager. Like, I want to be where you're at.
Here's one of the things is that I have somebody who I see as a very, very valuable asset, not only to my paycheck, but just as to like my store, like as somebody, like I see someone as this guy was asking me how much I was making because he needed that information from me for negotiations. His employment and whether his decision to join our store was contingent on if I told him or not. Literally on if I told him or not. I could have been
That's
that
whack.
guy. What?
You told him.
I told him because he needed to figure out
I see.
what he could negotiate.
I thought you were saying that like if you don't tell me I'm not coming.
All recruiting told him was you can't make more than this person's title. You can't make more than Marcos.
That's tight.
And so
that's really cool actually.
So they said
I love that.
you can't make more than Marcos. And so Jason walked up to me just stern. He's like, "How much do you make?" And I went, I was like, I don't give a flying hoot. You know what I mean? Like about
Whoa.
that. Whoa.
In front of the guest?
What?
Flying hoot? A hoot? Goodness. A hoot? We have children listening to this. Good Lord. All right?
Really?
No.
I would.
Yeah.
My sister?
Don't. Yeah.
Younger sister?
Take it easy, dude. Don't say that shit.
Yeah. No. But yeah, no. So like I was willing to part with that information because I don't care. I don't see it as taboo. And like I know what I work for at the end of the day. I like the job that I have, and I needed him on my team.
In a backwards way, that might work in your benefit too. Because like at some point down the line, someone might be like, "Hey, I need a raise," and they're like, "Well, Marcos only makes this much, so like we'd have to give Marcos a raise too." And then the guy would just be like, "Okay."
So then like
I don't care.
So here's I mean like. I don't know. People are selfish. Intrinsically, at the end of the day, they're going to look out for themselves.
Yeah.
I would think so in a corporate sense. That's your money. That's something that you're making. If I feel like I'm doing a better job than you, there's no benchmark to improve. If that's public information, or like if that is internal information like that, and you can view it, I just think that some people would be like, okay, well that's not really incentive for me to want to move up. That's not really incentive for me to give a shit. Like I'm just going to stay here and stagnate. And then that could hurt you.
So I guess one of my biggest caveats with, because this was my idea, and because my initial thought was like, yeah, of course, everywhere should I was like, no, you should be able to see like the CEO of freaking Apple's salary, but now I think it should be a little bit more internal. But my initial issue with this is I think it should be industry based, where it's tough because like if you go to the top performing hospital in the country. And you get a job there, and now you could see their employee portal, and you could see the top brain surgeon, the top brain surgeon, and the top heart surgeon, and you could see what they make. And if it's not the same, why is that? I feel like there are certain types of positions that would eventually get like levied against each other, because a heart surgeon could be like, why does that guy make more than me? There's something more important than the heart, and then vice versa, where it's like the brain. Are you serious? Like this is a hyper specific scenario, but I'm like, you go to like a masonry company, and all they do, honest to God, is just lay bricks. Who gives a shit? Who makes what? I laid 336 bricks yesterday. You laid 391.
But we still make the same.
Well, no, but like it's different because like. Sure, there's a valid metric. I did this many bricks more than you at In-N-Out. I made this many more burgers than you did, or something to that effect. But in a hospital or something a little bit more, where it's like it's more of like a philosophical, like what's more important. Like I can't think of something else that's like I don't know, of the same echelon of hospitals.
So, sorry, I'm like trying to wrap my.
I know I said like 50 words. I'm sorry.
So are you asking, is there a question, or is that just like a point? I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding.
I guess my initial thing was, is it industry based, or should it be all encompassing?
I mean, I would argue it should at least be industry based.
Okay.
And that does introduce costs to aggregate that information.
Yeah.
But like, that's probably good. Side note, that also prevents something that companies have certainly attempted before. Software companies, tech companies tried to do with engineers like 10 years ago and arguably did, and there was lawsuits about it, which is wage fixing, right? Having internal discussions between, let's say, hypothetically, like Apple and Samsung or whatever else, saying, hey, let's just both agree we're not going to pay more than like
that could end up
that's
happening.
Crazy unethical. Is that illegal?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely illegal. I mean, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But basically, a good rule of thumb is if there's an economic incentive for companies to collude, and there's a possibility for them to, they could. Thing is, if you have that information be industry-wide, it actually makes it harder to do that.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Because then it starts being more transparent than like, hey,
you can't do that.
Yeah, like it's really weird how like all of the software engineers are like hitting right up on this.
It's so
tab.
weird.
It's like a bunch of people are making like $109,000.
Yeah.
And no one's making $110,000.
It's so weird.
Like that's the sort of thing that you would
interesting.
be able
So if that
to
were a
look
little
at.
bit more transparent,
it would make it harder to hide at least.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay.
Curious. All right. All right, cool. That was really it on that one. We didn't really do like necessarily research on that one, but yeah, it was super fast.
It was more just a question of
Yeah, because all things considered, you're a young guy. Like you've if anything, you've seen both ends of like, my girlfriend's mom she got pissed at me. Like no joke, she got mad. I asked.
What does that sound like?
Well, I know, right? She's the sweetest woman on earth, too. Actually, how it sounded like, she's like, we don't discuss, we don't ask those questions. We don't.
And she hit you with the
no, but it was like 3
card.
or 4 times because I retaliated. Where I was like, why does it matter? Like you tell me that, and then I won't ask. And she's like, those aren't questions we ask.
That's indoctrination.
It's a social taboo that's been encouraged
So weird, though.
by employers.
I don't get it.
So it's, I mean, like,
Oh, I understand it. I just,
well, I'm not. Sociology is very much not my field. Like, I'm really bad at it. I took like 2 courses in college. And It's like, nope.
interesting.
But amateur sociology that I'm really not qualified to do. I think there's a good argument that a lot of that has to do with the fact that we are, as a nation, like we were like the crazy like hardcore Puritan immigrants founded this country.
true.
So there's a lot of like Puritan ethos that still kind of permeates American culture. That says you shouldn't, talking about how much you make is taboo because it could be seen as bragging. But I think there's room for nuance there, right? If I'm saying I make 6 figures and you're like, first of all, like I would
Congrats.
argue, but yes, true. I'd argue part of the problem is that we like culturally we still kind of, even people who consciously don't do this, we internalize this like a person's worth is determined by how much they make, right?
Yeah.
How much property you accrue or whatever. That determines your value as a human being, which is, I mean, transparently, that's horseshit, right? Like, that's obviously not true.
Technically, yes.
In this society,
But it's, I mean, yeah, that's, people do that, but
Yeah.
I would argue they shouldn't.
I think the way I see it is that the people that do that are just louder than people that don't. So I feel like we're exposed to that more. So it feels like people. Does that make sense? Where it's like you hear about. I'm willing to bet that way less NBA players cheat on their girlfriends and wives, but we just hear about the ones that do all the time because it's not breaking news to be like, hey, this NBA player is like staying faithful to his wife, and you're like, yeah, that's not news. Does that make sense? Where it's like everyone who's like, hey, I make this much, I have this many cars, like all this, all that. So like I think that's why it seems like it's so much more of an issue than it actually is, type thing.
I don't know. I think it's complicated. There are deep roots with that. So top ahead, I'd say some of it is, especially now that we have a largely service-driven economy.
Yeah.
More wealth means you can buy better service, which means kind of by default, and and I think everyone should have to at least once, anyone who's ever worked in a customer-facing role, any sort of customer service,
Yep.
you are well familiar with people who can afford a certain kind of status.
Yeah.
They get to take a crap on you, and you just kind of have to deal with it.
Yep.
And it's hard not to internalize that outside of that environment that like, this person, of course this person has a right to hold themselves above me.
Yeah.
They have, they can drive a nicer car.
Yeah.
You guys asked about Andrew Tate earlier. Like that is entirely a symptom of that. Right? People who have internalized like, this dude has 30 cars. That means he's doing something
He's
right.
got a Bugatti.
Yeah, it literally doesn't matter what his quality as a human being is. He's got stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
More stuff.
Yeah.
It's a very stupid way to think about
Absolutely.
things. But like
That's kind of on our list. I would love to get like a 14 through like 19-year-old, and like we'll put a black bar over him, like don't care. And I just that's obsessed with Andrew Tate, and just pick his brain.
Just want to hear like why. Just
Why?
Why?
No, I feel bad.
that whole thing makes me so glad I'm not teaching anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like I got out right before.
No, you did. No,
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah,
Actually,
actually.
almost to the month,
Yep.
dude. Like you crushed it. No, it's terrifying. It's really scary because some of the guys that we're very close with, that like I'm very very close. Went to college with, high school with, all that, and so it was the very first time I ever like sympathized. So you've probably never heard the other side of this, which was the first time for me as well. And he was just like, "You don't like Andrew Tate? Why not?" And I was like, "What do you?" I don't know. He just preaches like dumb shit that's like kind of mean and bad. And he was like, "Okay, but like, he makes me feel like a king. He makes me feel important. So when he's talking to the camera, and I'm watching it through my screen, I feel like he's talking to me, and he makes me feel so important, and it makes me feel like I deserve so much." And I was like, "Damn." Like that was the first time where I ever like, I won't say like sympathize, but I kind of understood. Where I was like, in terms of like a target audience, chef's kiss, nailed it.
Yeah. So you just met the person. You just met the person that liked this content.
Yeah.
So
no, but he loved. No. Like it made him like.
But like the same way you would watch like a motivational quote video of like a get up and get out there,
Don't
go work
quit.
out.
Yeah.
Don't quit. Don't that like you
Have
would
a
internalize
Sigma
that.
grind set.
Yeah.
Sigma grind. Yes.
And that's, I mean, it's a really good point, which is the reason why these things happen is there's a large number of people who are disaffected. And first of all, again, we've internalized, if you don't reach this level of status, your life is a failure.
Yeah.
kind of segment people into groups, and your happiness has to be contingent on do you have more stuff? And the reality is, first of all, like, different argument, but like, healthy capitalism actually probably shouldn't have a lot of that. Like, there's a difference between like effective mixed market capitalism and like billionaires everywhere, but that's a completely different ball of yarn.
Ball of yarn.
But second, like, we've got tons of people who are just realistically, you can't reach that status, even if we assume it is
Attainable.
healthy and attainable.
Yeah.
If you talk about 1% being what you want to get to, I want to be part of the 1%. 99% of people aren't going to make that, right? And if we have a system that says,
I don't think your math supports that.
check out. But if our system
99.
says that your life is a failure if you don't do that, and I think there's a lot of people who internalize that and inundated with that, and honestly, social media makes it so much worse. That's the one where I really feel like I dodged a bullet because
Chris fell into that. I think
big time.
particularly, I try not to like. I mean, I look at the lifestyles that those people preach and what they live, and I go, okay, well, that's attainable through a very, very high level of wealth, influence, other things like that. You got in at some point and were able to ride that through sponsorship stuff like
Lucky,
that.
just
but
lucky,
that lifestyle to me isn't sustainable.
Yeah.
I can't live that life. I need to know what I'm happy with and what I find joy in, and I found that. And I try to maintain that and participate
It's
in
a different wave to ride for sure.
Yeah. I know the lifestyle that they live. It's cool, but it's not me.
Yeah. Wholeheartedly.
I mean,
for sure.
Are you guys familiar with the hedonic treadmill?
Hedonic treadmill.
Okay, so
Hedonism
this
is.
Oh yeah, I know what hedonism is,
Yeah,
but
so it's a very real psychological phenomenon.
would you be willing to define hedonism as a smart person for our guest?
Somebody who knows the hedonic treadmill.
Basically, it's like from my understanding, it's that like nothing necessarily matters. Where it's like there's
Nihilism.
That's nihilism.
Oh, nihilism.
Yeah,
shit.
Yeah, nihilism.
Oh, that shit
matters.
bangs. I like nihilism.
Hedonism is the pursuit of joy.
Joy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a really good way. That's a better definition than what I was going
or
to stumble through.
Technically,
Excellent word.
the thing I read, it was pleasure, where it's like there's pleasure for I'm hungry, I need to eat, I'm thirsty, I need to drink, and there's pleasure. It's like, hey, this thing makes me feel happy. This thing doesn't make me feel happy. I'm gonna go do that thing.
So the hedonic treadmill, it's a very consistently observed psychological phenomenon, which is your brain kind of adapts to, especially like material pleasure.
Yeah.
It just adjusts to it. So you'll get like a spike when you and lived this a little bit when my wife and I changed jobs. Like, we bought a way nicer coffee machine than what we had before.
Let's go.
And it was like, oh my God, this thing is so great. And it still is. Like, I love it. But like,
Is that what you're sipping on right now?
yeah, it's an Americano. It's so good.
That's icy.
Espresso and water?
Yeah.
My man, my palate is not there yet.
You'll get there.
I hope. I hope to.
You also have to like, it needs to be, if you're getting it from Starbucks.
No. Okay. I stopped drinking. like
Yeah.
big chain. Yeah. Yes.
Now I'm used to it, right? Like you have it, and then the flip side is if you gave me what I was drinking before, it wouldn't taste as good. Mm-hmm. When HDTV first came out, like when your household switched from like standard definition or like a CRT TV to HD, it was like, oh my God, it's like I'm watching the game in person.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's just like, this is the way it's supposed to look. And if you look at like old CRT footage, it's like, how the hell did I ever watch this? But you're not any happier with the HD TV than you were before.
Yeah.
Once you adjust to that just becomes the normal.
Yes.
And like
Wow. Okay.
massive material consumption doesn't really increase people's sense of joy. It doesn't increase people's sense of happiness. You're just you're throwing.
You're just getting a dopamine hit. It's temporary.
You're throwing stuff down a pit as fast as you can to try to make yourself happy without actually
Trying to fill the pit.
Yeah.
It's like this cool thing will make me feel. Yeah.
As
Interesting.
opposed to, and like this is what you're talking about, you get joy from human connections. We are social animals.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have something that creates meaning for you, if you don't have people who create meaning for you,
We're sitting here.
yeah, exactly.
You know?
You're not going to be happy. The problem is, again, if you have social media constantly telling you, this is the lifestyle, this is what you're supposed to have, you are a worthless piece of shit if you don't have this. Pardon my language if you really do have kids watching, but if you're inundated with that, I think there's a lot of people who, I mean, honestly, the entire time I taught, I saw tons of kids who were in that kind of that mind space. Because how are you not, right? Like, you are filled with that.
Yeah.
Then, someone telling you, you can get this and here's what you need to do. And then, by the way, his advice is like, do crimes and like be a sex pest, I guess. Like, that's basically.
For sure. Absolutely.
But
OnlyFans, a
Yeah.
sex pest. I love that.
That's. I mean, that's.
I prefer the term harlot.
Right? Wasn't he like arrested for sexual assault? Am I?
sex trafficking.
Trafficking
Yeah.
allegations. Yeah. so-
Hey, wait, real quick. Hey, the file's empty. All right, he did nothing wrong.
His lawyer's the same who represented Tyson.
Yeah.
And who else? There was one other big client.
He got famous off of like it's
Isn't
so
he
bad.
on trial in Romania?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So he
So
lives
why
in
is he
Romania.
hiring an American lawyer?
because
he's good. He's like unethical.
Because she wins.
Yeah.
That's,
So he left America to go to the UK because he thought that
Right.
the laws would be less stringent, and then he went to Romania because they're even less stringent
Okay.
there, and he literally paid off the cops 1,000,000 times.
but an American lawyer doesn't know Romanian law. Like it's.
Well, no, but the webcam girls are in US
Oh,
and
okay.
UK.
So he's hiring a lawyer to. Are they like suing him then?
I don't. So
In addition to the criminal stuff.
I don't know enough about
so
it.
from my understanding, so I'll kind of give you a start to finish thing where like the way he made his empire is like from girls
Cam
webcamming. Yeah, and like so basically kind of what he would do is this is going to sound super lame, but like I know a lot of like Twitter and a lot of like left Twitter will misuse the word grooming.
Okay.
But he like dictionary definition groomed them.
Like young women.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So and like
Young
set
women,
them up,
here's a check.
and he would date them and like make them feel happy, make them feel safe, and then like basically he would get them to the point of dependency where like they literally needed him to succeed. So then he'd be like, okay, stay in this hotel room, and here's a camera, and you're gonna perform for this camera all hours of the day, however long I say, and I need you to develop an emotional connection to the guys on the other side of the laptop. I need you to do this, and there were guys that would like came out and they were like, no, I gave this girl like my life savings because she said that she was going to come live with me in New Jersey or Oklahoma or whatever, and then that went straight to Andrew Tate.
God, that's so.
Yeah, so that's how he made his millions. That's how he got his Bugatti.
Yeah.
and that's how he got all his stupid ass cars.
built on an empire of.
Yeah, so but now it kind of hit a point where it's like, well, like
Fraud.
yeah, well,
Yeah, it's
and
literally
also
fraud.
these girls like can't leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's like I can't leave because I have
And
nothing.
it breaks my heart because
Yeah.
like I saw somebody talking about like it was some fucking Vice thing, but the quote that really stuck with me, it was like, and I genuinely believe this is like girls think that now like OnlyFans and stuff like that, the people who choose to do it, I'm gonna say I'm not making a generalization of
Yeah.
all women. That's lame. That's
we have
stupid.
really good OnlyFans girls friends. We have
Yeah.
like a decent amount of them.
people
yeah.
who decided to seek out sex work as a profession.
Yeah.
I don't see it as a form of freedom. I think of it, you're still perpetrating the standards of like one of the oldest forms of oppression.
yeah.
You're like, that's why I think it's sad to me.
Yeah.
Like that
A little
like,
bit, for
the
sure.
Society pays so willingly for that, and these girls
A
just
lot too. Is that taxed?
Huh?
I don't think because
oh, it's very well taxed. OnlyFans?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
you
don't know.
absolutely pay
Taxable
taxes.
income, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Yeah.
because like I know that
You
there
sign
was,
what's the
1099?
1099 a
Interesting.
self-employment form. Yeah.
I just know that like I know like my sister's hairdresser. There was some bill about like getting paid on Venmo and Cash App and all that stuff. But her hairdresser charged through Venmo.
It was $600. If you charge more than $600, you are taxed. I think you're taxed for a
Interesting.
certain amount.
Yeah,
After
because she
that
would make
$600.
like $2,000 a day doing girls' hair.
Yeah.
But when she was getting paid through Venmo, it was like, well, like I don't know, how do you tax that? So like I don't know, but I didn't know if OnlyFans worked the same way. But yeah, it's super interesting, and it's like it's sad, it's backwards, it's twisted, but like so like that's why, especially then when you have like I don't know, there's a podcast called like the Fresh and Fit podcast, and they're like, hey, listen. It's bad when women cheat. Women shouldn't cheat, but men, we're allowed to cheat. You know, it's biologically in our, and it is. I feel so bad. I feel like there's a sense of guilt where I'm like, there's someone watching this, connecting with it. That scares the
Internalizing
shit out
that.
of me. Yeah,
Like-
and it's like 14 through 19-year-old kids that like I don't know, like have never even dated or like fallen
it's-
in love. You know. Falling in love is like the freaking easiest thing to do too. So like, and they're gonna feel that.
Yeah.
They're gonna accidentally fall in love and be like, well, shit, I've been fed all this bullshit about like being an alpha.
Then they're gonna think that's not right.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. It's like it's super fucking scary because, and
Yeah.
it doesn't help though. And I'm just gonna throw this out there. No offense to me either. Marcos and I have like the biggest hearts in the world, and we are like the most simpy guys ever for our girls. We'll. Or maybe not.
She made a face. I'm on my Sigma right now. This is my alpha chapter.
But yeah.
Can you be a simp for your girlfriend? I thought so. This is me being old. I thought simp implied that it was like one-way affection. right? Like
Technically.
That's what the term is.
Well, so
that's just called being a loving boyfriend.
no matter
supporting partner.
Yeah.
no matter how much my girlfriend loves and supports me, I still simp for her. You know,
Okay.
It's like there's no way it could be reciprocated because of how hard I'm.
I think the word he's looking for is tiger mom. You know?
That's perfect though. But yeah. So little educational tangent for you folks who didn't know who Andrew Tate was and what he did. Yeah. So, but if you're younger, listening to this and upset at us, we're more than welcome to fight.
Other human beings, including women, have the same emotions and feelings that you do.
So that's one of the.
They have an inner self.
That's one
just
of the.
like you.
That's literally what they'll say though. They'll say like, okay, so like, oh my god, I'm gonna quote the podcast basically word for word. It's so bad. It's like, okay, so like when you're in a relationship and you get to a point in that relationship where you feel the need to cheat. For women, it's an emotional thing. So when you want to cheat, for women, you have to get to a status with the guy emotionally to cheat on him. But for men, it's like going to the bathroom. She's like, "Hey, did you just go cheat on me?" He's like, "No, I went into the bathroom." It's like a transaction.
That's a shitty take.
Yeah, and but you check the chat and you check the comments and everyone's like this fire emojis, king emojis, crown emojis. You're just like, oh my god.
Preach. You're like, oh.
Yeah, it's scary, man.
Yep. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, it really sucks. But yeah, I think one of the issues is that we need to, as a society, just be a little bit more chill, and however you get more chill, it's up to you. But I know for some people, that would be, kicking back and smoking weed. Hey, speaking of weed.
Man, you wrote segues for all of
I
them.
actually didn't write that one. That one was off the dome.
I saw that.
Yeah, that one's a little more off the dome. But so, hey, check me out. Let's get into this next topic. It's a little bit more dicey. Marcos, I'd like for you to take the charge on this one.
Okay. So people who Chris and I started looking into the people getting criminalization behind marijuana, right? And so people getting arrested for, depending on the type of crime, they were, fallaciously arrested.
Yeah.
They were just thrown into jail. Bop, that's it. And we were starting to look into when should these crimes be reevaluated? Who's going to take care of that? And how far are we going back?
It's since been widely legalized at a state level,
but not federally. So that's still one of the I guess the big things that muddles that.
The thing I said when we were kind of researching for this is that like there was a guy who got arrested in May of 2019 for like possession of let's highball it and let's just say it was an ounce, which is like that's a lot of weed. He got arrested for that, and then he got let out. Let's just say 4 months later. So now it's September, and he gets out and it's legal now. What and he's like, what the fuck?
Served,
like
he served that sentence. He did that time.
Yeah.
And I mean, Arizona, if you have 2 charges, you could get caught for one. And if you get caught for like a speeding, right, you get a charge for that. And then if you happen to have weed on you, you go to jail.
Yeah.
You go to jail. You are arrested, and then you are taken. And
So the question being prompt is, if you get arrested for, generally
nonviolent. We are stipulating nonviolent marijuana based arrests.
Kind of. So
sentences.
The original. Yeah. Exactly. Go. Yeah. So if you get arrested for a crime that's like, not necessarily a crime, but like the way we originally phrased it was all laws in general, but laws are weird. So like we generalize it to weed, because if you get arrested for something and like while you're arrested or since you've been arrested, it's become legalized, should that be reevaluated and reviewed by some type of board or
Should
something
it be
like that?
expunged from your record, basically?
Well, exactly. Because like that's whack.
Yeah. No, I would agree.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, so I feel like this is the point where I should like say, if anyone knows my employers past or present, my views are my own and do not reflect the views of any of my employers. So I'll say that.
That's cool.
I quoted that.
Did you?
No. I was just saying, I'm quoting that right now.
Oh, yeah, me
Marco
too.
said that, but by him.
Yeah.
If my company's watching this, I disagree with everything Mr. Coomer's about to say.
So
I love violent crime.
yeah, violent
crime.
We bring back bank robberies.
I'm not vengeance.
Yeah.
All the best movies involve violent crime.
That's what I'm saying. When's the last time you met someone and they're like, "Hey, what do you do?" And you're like, "I rob banks." Where are those guys?
The big burlap sacks.
I mean, robbing banks is like,
It's so inefficient.
yeah, it's super low EV.
We talked about
I feel like we probably talked about that in class. At
Damn
some
it, we
point,
did.
yeah.
We did.
Just go to Kolkata, become a phone scammer, and do
Yeah,
spyware.
it's
just
so-
install like.
So real quick tangent. It's so funny they bring that up because I laid out a relatively foolproof plan to Mr. Coomer in front of my whole class to rob the bank that was right by my old house. I laid it out perfectly, and a lot of people were like, Yeah, honestly, like that's pretty airtight. Like actually, like genuinely, that's pretty good.
How long was the van outside of your house like listening?
About 45 minutes.
Okay,
But yeah.
that's good. After that day in
But
school,
Mr. Coomer was literally like, he was like, genuinely like I see where you're coming from. Semi like that could work potentially, but when you rob a federal bank, like, and if you get caught, your life is over. You know, so it's like, so I didn't do that.
Good. Yeah. I did make an impact. There we go.
we're like,
That's how we afforded the ring light.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry.
nice light.
Yeah, it is. So sorry. Continue.
Crap, man. What was I saying?
You said
we
that-
were just saying, should crimes be expunged based on reevaluations of decriminalization?
Yeah, for a lot of reasons.
Damn.
So
Adjectives.
to start with, there's like, this is like, broadly, I would say the United States has a big problem with how we treat people with criminal records.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons that we have the recidivism rates that we do. The reason why people who
Go back to doing crime.
Yep.
When they're let go.
yeah, is once you have a criminal record, you're functionally locked out of like middle class and up society. Right? Because you apply for jobs and it's like, hey, you have that question that's like, have you ever committed a crime before?
A felony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to be like, yeah, I have.
Yeah.
And then employers go,
Yep.
like, I mean, I'll tell you straight up, I would not have the job. I wouldn't have any of the jobs I've had
Yeah.
past the age of like 22 if I had to check yes on that.
Yeah, for
neither.
sure.
Just
Yeah.
Me neither.
no way.
Yeah.
So when you do that, you essentially force those people into like,
Dishwashing.
Yeah.
Lower entry level jobs.
which does not in and of itself promote criminality.
No.
But it does generally tend to promote a sense of disaffection with society, less feeling that you have an obligation to a society that has largely like ground you down and said,
Yeah,
this
I mean,
is-
cast you aside.
Like hypothetically, imagine being like you. All I can be is a dishwasher at this pizzeria.
Yeah,
and like
prisons-
imagine just seeing all of these servers and all these other cooks coming in and going to school, like you know,
yeah.
shit like that. Where you're like that would kill you.
there are profit motives in the imprisoned, like in the prison industrial complex for those people
American.
to have. Yeah, in the American. Well, that's why they're not focused on rehabilitation or reformation. They're focused on keeping you there.
Yeah.
They're meant to keep you at a low status so those people collect checks from the government.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And it's weird when 13% of the population is responsible for like right around half the percent of the or what. It's like
that stat?
30% of the population, which is African American males or African Americans, are responsible for 50% of the imprisonment. And it's just like
it's bringing that up with marijuana. I actually did a little research on this
Yeah.
beforehand because I knew I wanted to have like actual numbers on this
Yeah.
and not just be like, I'm pretty sure I remember reading.
Okay.
So there was an ACLU analysis of arrest rates.
yeah.
For marijuana possession and also usage rates. So comparing African American males to white males,
Yeah.
usage rate's flat. The percentage of,
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like
No
they're
shit. No,
Same,
really?
Yeah, it's almost exactly even. The arrest rate is like 3.8 times higher for African American males. So if from a racial justice standpoint, that's not going to solve racial issues in the United States, but it'd be a nice step.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's a start
Yeah.
to maybe try to deal with that kind
Yeah.
of maybe.
it's a ground root for systemic equality there.
Well, I mean,
in that regard,
but it also
it's a start.
I think it's stemmed in like why it's like, well, like why did he run? Why did he resist arrest? It's like, well, he had a joint on him, and if he were a white kid, he probably wouldn't have because he like out of shit like that where you're like,
P.S. Historically, like the reason why marijuana, like the war on drugs, literally.
was lobbying.
Yeah, like if you look back to the Nixon administration, one of his top aides, I think it's John Ehrlichman, like is on record in an interview of the 90s of saying pretty much like straight up, yeah, we couldn't like criminalize because that's, you had political movements in the 60s and 70s and like the elements that were like anti-Nixonian were largely like hippies and African Americans. And so like we can't criminalize being a hippie, we can't criminalize being black, but we can cast this as,
What the root of it is.
and and like hilariously again, usage rates actually aren't any different, which shouldn't be surprising.
no,
why
not at
would
all.
that be
Yeah,
surprising?
not at all.
But
I would have been surprised if it were completely different. Yeah,
but there's a conscious effort, there was a strategic effort to cast this as implicitly a racial problem.
yeah,
And then as a result, enforcement has largely fallen along racial lines.
yeah.
Like it's really hard to untangle the war on drugs from honestly like intentional systemic racist,
Yeah.
systemically racist
No, I mean,
enforcement
absolutely,
of crime.
completely.
So it's
One of the reasons that I what is it? I literally watched I think it was an no. Fuck, I don't remember where I got it from. It was either an episode of Adam Ruins Everything or like, what's it called? Or just some other like video that I was watching just on down the rabbit hole of YouTube, the ever glorious. The part of the reason why like marijuana was considered so like it was considered to be associated with the devil or like back in like the early 1900s. We're talking like 30s, 40s, kind of like that
Reefer
era.
Madness era.
Yeah, Reefer Madness. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what it was called. Goodness gracious. Thank you.
Nerd.
It's called establishing rhetoric. Yeah. Go lift something heavy. Yeah. Why didn't you bench your car? Huh? Yeah. How's that? Yeah. Big rocks now, huh?
Yeah, we wouldn't
All right.
get stuck under a van if you could lift the van, dumbass.
You just bench it, bro. That's my 1 rep max. What about you? Nah.
Reefer Madness era.
Yeah, so Reefer Madness era, big paper was like whatever was used to typically create paper. So like different types of fiber. Hemp was a very, very fast growing.
Really?
Yeah, hemp was a very, very fast growing alternative to paper. So lobbyists there got together and were like, F that. I don't want that to happen. Also, if you didn't know this, it's also a way to, what is it? You can create plastic from hemp fibers. So you kind of, they're like looking into it a little bit more. I'd have to do more research on it. Obviously, this was just a surface level thing that I just decided to say based on what I had heard.
Yeah.
But I think it is food for thought to think of like how early it's sowed into like the ground. So it's easy for them to say like, hey, let's give us a cause to go against it.
Yeah.
You're aligning with the devil. This is bad. This
Absolutely.
is XYZ things, but it grows faster than typical fibers used to create paper. It is very, very easy to grow.
Yeah.
In most climates. Arizona actually has a very favorable climate, I believe.
For hemp?
Yeah. Because or like even just for produce in general,
Yeah.
Arizona has like all around year weather conditions for that you can if you have a humidor you can create an environment pretty easy. So that was one of the things that I looked into. I want to look into that more because that would be an interesting topic for us even later. But yeah, that was one of those things. Think early.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like the only reason I've never smoked weed is because of my mom. When I was like 13 years old and she had a really nice heart to heart with me about like, mijo, I'm 33 years old and I've never touched a single drug in my life. And I'm proud I get to say that. And I was like, hey, like that's cool. But I've also been surrounded by people where it's like, I don't want you being a fucking doper, son. Like, like I don't want you getting in trouble with being with these hoodlums and these hood rats. Like weed is what gets you started. You see that bum over there? I bet you he smoked weed when he was 13, just like you're about to, huh?
It's not a gateway drug. It's gateway mentality.
Yeah, so it's super funny where it's like I did have a lucky like.
Which one do you think affected you more of those two?
My mom.
Yeah,
being like,
funny how that works, right?
Positive reinforcement and like.
No, it was one of my baseball teammates' dads. We literally there was like 6 of us in this big ass Tahoe, and he's like, you guys see that guy asking for money? Yeah, doper. Don't doubt it. And we're all just like, we were only in like 6th grade too.
Yikes.
That gives me the same. Like I had a guy who I talked about getting smoked at paintball when I was 6 years old, or like not 6 years. I was in the 6th grade. Sorry, I was in the 6th grade.
Picturing a bunch of teenagers chasing a 6-year-old.
No, but I was I was 10, but like I was in the 6th grade and I went to Camp Pendleton for the first time, and I was like, okay, what's paintball, right? Guys, we got put against a team. It was like kids and like maybe some dads put against like literally professional play. They were all wearing the same uniform, dual trigger action, 3 canisters minimum, and of course they just raided one house, and I was in that, and I got a firing squad of 3 dudes. My chest looked it looked like a Plinko machine, like just different colored, varying like shades of purple and red, And then I went back and I was like, man, those guys were tryhards. And then the audacity of this guy that drove us there, he was just like, you can't call them tryhards, Like, I think it's your fault that you haven't invested the time into that hobby. And I was like, I'm 10!
Yeah.
I'm 10 years years old. So for him to be like, it's always that guy's fault. It's
Yeah.
always his fault. Like it's always the doper's fault.
Maybe
Like,
if you grew up.
yeah, maybe if you got a job and really started working like that.
Yeah. So basically, I don't know. The stigma. Well, nowadays it's different too, though, because one, everyone has always smoked weed, but now you just kind of know because of like social media. We had a guest on. He was a house appraiser. His name's Jared. Really cool guy. And he gave us. He kind of said something that seemed like relatively like, yeah, everyone should know this, but it was something to the effect of like, you could have a super specific, super niche thought. And if you go on the internet and look for it, you're going to find a community of people that agree with you. And that's new. You know, like the relative.
It's also a problem.
You know, it's bad.
Problem.
It's bad.
Feels mob mentality.
But like that's why like you get these freaking weirdos in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and they're like, you know, both of my parents say that I'm going to hell because I got high with all my boys. And now it's like you go on Reddit for 30 minutes and you're going to find every era of every generation just being like, dude, everyone smokes weed. You know, so it's like it's tough. But I don't know, I guess to bring it back somewhat, it's just like where do you draw the line where if someone got arrested 9 months ago and is now out and now it's legalized, it's like, well, do we give them reparations? Do we pay them? But also, where does it stop? Because like if we obviously this is a hyperbole, I'm being facetious, but like if we legalized arson, you know, tomorrow and
a state level.
and we have 10,000 people that are incarcerated for arson, like do we let them out? You know?
If as a society we decide arson is cool and good, then yeah.
So
Like,
if we
which we
defer
did
to action movies,
which we did for weed, right?
I mean, that's still an open debate, probably.
Okay.
Like you said, it's still
I just need to
not
know
legal at the federal level.
Yeah.
why. I just don't know why. Like why does the government decide not to? I mean, what's I just don't understand like the implications personally. If state levels are relatively willing to do it, I just don't know like how could it benefit the government? You know, do we pose it at that?
I mean,
The states, like that's where I'm stuck. You know what I mean?
Because it's more expensive to keep arresting people for it.
oh yeah, it's from a
To
if you're
charge somebody?
Yeah,
Yeah.
from a cost standpoint, really the big cost is the social cost of
Yeah.
people in prison is not good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are people who are not able to contribute to productive society.
Yep.
And not like those people suck, but like literally you are taking them out of the functional labor pool,
Yeah.
except to do whatever like 5 cent an hour license plate printing or whatever the prison forces
Yeah.
them to do. But
Yeah.
like, which is a total separate issue, but that's not effective. It's also like there's huge knock-on effects in terms of if you imprison somebody, for example, who's a father,
Yeah.
right, or a mother, like you're removing a parent from a household, which happens,
Yeah.
and that has big time
Yeah,
effects. It also has
yeah.
huge effects on the likelihood of that parent's child
Yep.
also ending
Falling
up.
into
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, like those costs are high. Chris, I'm with you. I've never toked either,
Dude.
but like, yeah, straight edge, bro. I say as you're on like your second beer.
Bunch of square.
But like, there's a lot of things that I haven't done that I don't need to see other people in prison if that happens to be something
Yeah.
they enjoy
Yeah.
doing, right?
Interesting.
As for why it's still legal, like that's the challenge is society gets to make decisions one way or the other about what behaviors we condone and what behaviors we condemn with prison sentences or whatever
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of people who aren't comfortable with not making that. I think there's also, I don't know, like there's a small but meaningful distinction between legalizing and decriminalizing.
Okay.
Right? Like there's a difference between, and I would say for as a gateway drug maybe to whatever else,
Yeah.
if you're not comfortable with people with marijuana being legal,
yeah.
I would argue you could still be comfortable with maybe not throwing people in
Yeah.
prison.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
not,
Yeah.
Like
not
there's-
tossing
Yeah.
their
Not saddling
Yeah.
them with a criminal record
Fine.
as
Yeah.
opposed to
Yeah.
speeding isn't legal.
Yeah.
But unless you're going incredibly fast in like
Yeah.
a school zone or just like incredibly fast period,
Yeah.
it's not criminal.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't throw people in jail for going 50 in a 45.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
You get them a ticket, you slap them on the
Yeah,
you get
fine
'em
them.
outta there, you know.
Interesting. All right. Well, so I mean, I think, I mean, I'll allow you the right to disagree with me. All right, you're allowed to disagree with me. I'm telling you that now. All right. I'm pretty sure like it's inevitable that it's going to get legalized federally. Like just I don't know when, but I'm like it feels like a non-zero fact that like
we could see it in our. I feel like we could see it in our.
You will see it. No, you absolutely will.
So exactly.
It's basically it's when baby boomers no longer make a significant enough portion of the voter base to block that. Yeah.
Exactly. So
we got about 15 years.
Yeah.
So when it's legalized. What's your prediction? Do you think we'll just open up the prison floodgates and be like, hey, everyone, but like also, or what do you
mean, generally when a law is changed to make something non-criminal, typically, you don't hold people in prison for violating a law that's no longer on the books.
Sweet. I didn't know. Cool.
Okay.
There are edge cases there, especially like, and you guys did a lot of research or at least a lot of thought into this in terms of what you sent me. Like, what were the circumstances in which this person was arrested?
Right. So I could put that out there. So basically, the three things that we said to Mr. Coomer were, here we go. Son of a bitch, where is it? Oh, I highlighted the darkest color. We looked at factors like previous criminal history, were the arrests compliant, and what, if any, were the accompanying charges. So a lot of like our basis for the arrests or for the releasing out of like prison or whatever is how was the arrest / is there any previous criminal history? Because like if the arrests were violent, if they were resisting,
or did
you reach for a cop's gun? Like obviously, which doesn't really happen all that much, but like just in general, where it's like if all that stuff is true in the case file, sure, you got 4 months ago or whatever. Like that these are the questions that we want to ask because like. If you were going 95 in a 15-mile-per-hour school zone and you had a joint on you, you're not in jail for the joint. Like it's things like that where that was kind of our basis for like, how specific does it get?
And who would head? Like, I just wonder, like, who would head that? Like, the team of reevaluation.
Yeah.
Would it be something like so? If we're now assuming that it's at a federal level eventually at some point, is there going to be some sort of like, would it be Congress? Like Congress? Would it be like what lawmakers or who specifically would like enforce that? Would it like some sort of?
God, you guys should ask Liz this question.
We actually should.
That's great.
But, so she'd be better at answering because she's the government expert.
Would you come on with her?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
I don't want to make Liz sick.
That's right.
But if she's comfortable with that, yeah. But so right now it's because marijuana is classed as a controlled substance.
Okay.
So it's part of the Controlled Substances Act that makes that criminal. And you've sort of had like de facto executive orders tracing back to Obama that are like, don't enforce it. Right?
Yeah.
That's basically the federal government position has been states that decide to decriminalize or even legalize, we're not going to step in and say like, nah, screw you. Technically they could.
Yeah,
like,
if they wanted to. One
of the reasons why, like, from an investment standpoint, there's like an entire cottage industry right now if you want to invest in dealing with like cash dealings for dispensaries because normal banks don't want to touch them.
No.
And the reason is because the federal government technically at any time could be like, you were just aiding and abetting breaking a federal law.
Oh, shit.
Right? So.
Oh, I see. That's funny.
So. There's a lot of like mess around that. For it to be legalized at a federal level, Congress would have to essentially declass it. Yeah, I believe.
Okay.
And I'm not.
That makes sense.
On that. They would have to say like, take this off the list. It's not. And once that happens, in terms of how you handle it, that could be up to Congress. It could also be up to the courts. Okay, right, okay. And that's I'm really bad at that in terms of how like what do we do when like I believe if something is no longer illegal, my instinct tells me like we probably already do that when we make things legal, like we take people out of the prisons. Whether that happens automatically or whether there's hearings or whether that's an act of Congress, that's actually a blind spot.
Or does it stay on your record and all that stuff? Because it should be taken off your record theoretically. Because like I don't know. Yeah, for sure. Interesting. All right. Anything else on that?
I didn't have anything else.
Gotcha. No more sympathy for dopers. All right. That's what I thought. You kids listening at home, don't smoke weed or go to hell.
He need to lay off that dope.
All right, the very last one. So this is the one that Marcos and I spent the most amount of time on. and it's a lot. I'll be honest, but it comes from a place of it's a little bit different. I mean, for me especially, because like me and my girlfriend are trying to buy a house right now. Like just looking into how would that look, how would that work, and houses are so GD expensive right now.
Aren't you moving to Australia?
No,
Is that so? That's off the table now.
Yeah.
Not gonna go waltzing Matilda.
No, it fell through. We
I've never heard that.
we tried to. Yeah, me neither. Actually, we tried to make it work. Like our lease is up in June.
Okay.
We wanted to get there in February. Like, there's just so many moving parts where like money right now. I still got $6,000 in student debt. You know, it's like it's a lot.
I hate to phrase it like this. I think the we is the problem.
Potentially, I wouldn't want to go alone.
Okay, that's where I think
Me and Tim were gonna go, and yeah, and I don't know. It was in terms of like a pipe dream. It was decently realistic. Where like we could have made it work, but we you know, like it was funny. I found this out the next day though. But like we had this really deep talk like right here in the living room, and we're like, shit, you know, because he's got his own shit going on. I got my stuff going on. Where it's like. It's a lot right now, you know? So it's like, it's tough because he wanted to push it back 6 months, but I wanted to be back before I was 25. And now he's talking about leaving when we're like almost 25. It's like, well, shit, like now, like, so there's just so much red tape around it. And I mean, if you guys listen to this podcast before, you've seen how passionate I am about Australia, but it's like, it's just tough. I might still go, but like not move there for 2 years and just go for however long. But yeah,
What was the job plan if you went?
farmer.
So farmer. Right now they have a really cool work visa right now. Where if you farm for 6 weeks, 1 year working visa, no questions asked. So then you can go get a job like normal, like as if you're a citizen.
Do you have farming experience?
No, but I can do anything.
He can lift heavy stuff.
Literally.
That's literally what they asked him, though.
It was like, how's
Do you
your
have
back?
a strong back? Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
They said, how's
That's
your back?
like 1920s immigration
Yeah.
question.
McDermott welding.
How's
like
your back? Exactly. How's your back? And I said, my back freaking rules, dog. Yeah. And yeah, they're like, can you strap hay bales? Which I actually have done before. I was like, yeah, I can do that. And I can lift them. Yeah. And so that was the plan but they said like, and even if you wanted to keep farming, you could do that. And like, that's your job. But if not, you get the work visa. You can go work at a freaking hotel concierge or smoothie joint, whatever, surf shack. I'm a surfer. So that's why I was like, hell yeah. I like to think I'm a surfer. I've only gone a handful of times, but I'm actually halfway decent.
I was trying to puzzle out how you manage that living in a desert. But
Yeah. We Cali once or twice a year for sure.
yeah,
That's
go
it.
to Big Surf and
Yeah, no, not Big Surf. No, that doesn't count. But yeah, so yeah, I'm a little heartbroken about that. But I might still go just in general. Like, but the thing is, if I do go, I don't want to go for like a week. My dad was just begging me to go on a cruise. He's just like, son, like, because the way I see it is, I don't know. I just turned 22, and what I'd like is for something to happen. Mm-hmm. That's not exactly what's supposed to happen. Does that make sense?
yeah.
And that's why Australia was like kind of the golden goose of like, hell yeah, like this is gonna be. I'm gonna ride this off into the sunset.
this is Chris's arc.
Yeah, exactly.
You want your arc.
I was really looking forward to it, but I mean, yeah, just it was causing strain between me and my girlfriend, which like I totally understand. Her only rule for so this is going back like 5 years. Her only rule for whenever she got engaged to someone was she had to have her bachelor's degree. That was her only rule. And then she wasn't planning on graduating early. She wasn't planning on any of that. So she graduated. She just got her bachelor's degree in biomedical science. You know, shout out love.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Audrey.
And then like right around when she was like, yeah, I'm about to graduate, like. Can't wait, right? All right, can't wait. And I was like, yeah, hey, I think I'm gonna move, like, like just for a little bit. Like, don't even worry about it. But it was
So Shane and Co. Right? Totally just
exactly
crazy casual.
Yeah.
Just bringing it up.
Is that rose gold? I love rose gold. I love it. But
I honestly, the whole diamonds to moissanite thing.
Don't even get me started. But yeah, so it worked. It worked out pretty nicely though. So like it's I don't know. It's bittersweet because it's like now, like if I do want to start my life now, I could if I wanted to. I still want to do something, but it's like,
don't buy a house unless you get married. Side note.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or have
don't-
kids.
Well, no, but just like literally
Oh,
don't,
why not?
don't because you are like the legal commitment of co-owning a house is probably harder to disentangle from
Really?
than divorcing.
Oh,
and arguably
wow.
arguably easier to handle if you're also divorcing because then there's like good legal infrastructure to settle like how do we divide these assets
Interesting.
up, whereas if you're just dating
Okay.
And then you break up.
and then you buy a house and then you break up, then it's a real mess to
Yeah.
disentangle that.
it's shitty too because she has better credit than I do.
If you're ready to buy a house together,
Yeah.
if you're like, I don't care, we're never going to break up,
Yeah.
then you're ready to get married.
Well, I have a good back, but I don't have good knees, so
What's
I'm
the-
a little worried to committing.
What's the law in Arizona? 7 years to be considered like a legal
Common law.
partnership?
I don't know how
Common
that
law?
works. Yeah, I, have no
I knew
idea.
somebody who was like walking that line. They're like, yeah, we have to figure out what we're gonna do. 'Cause
like
they just
domestic, like file for
yeah, they
domestic
didn't
partnership?
do
I've
it for
never-
tax purposes, I think. But I was like, wouldn't it be better if you
They
joined?
didn't get married for tax purposes.
It was something like along the lines of that.
That
like
makes-
I don't know. Exactly. Maybe he was. I don't know. But he was approaching. I think it was like his girlfriend. He I think they already had pre-established families before they met each other.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that's
okay.
why, and then they started dating, and now they're approaching like a 7-year mark. It seems. So now they're kind of walking that line of like, do we get married? I think
I've always wondered about that because I feel like, okay, so if you're cohabitating, I guess then like the government can probably track it, but like, how does the government track your anniversary? Like,
yeah. So
Your FBI agent's like, hey, dude,
hey, was y'all fucking?
didn't you forget an anniversary gift last year? Like, I mean, what's the deal?
No. The FBI agent text, that classic one. It's like, hey, bro, don't forget, you have this court hearing coming up
Yep.
for the whole partner trial, but
Yeah.
hey, she loves those pair of shoes she saw.
Yep.
well, and like, so let's say like you take your girlfriend out, like your first date is like coffee on like December 30th.
Yeah.
And then like your second date when you like ask her to go steady or whatever
Yeah.
is like January 5th.
How do you declare that?
Yeah.
We've been
Are
together
you-
for 2
Are you
years.
common law dating? Like, are you common law married fiscal year like 7 years from December 30th? Or do
Yeah.
you get an extra year?
That's
because it's, like-
fascinating.
I've always wondered that.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I guess
Mrs. Evans.
it's funny. I know, right, Mrs. Evans? How married is married?
How's the law?
Yeah. Interesting. So yeah.
Yes, I'm not pressuring you to get married when I tell
No,
you that.
no, of
I'm
course.
mostly telling you like
Advice.
I like it. No,
that,
thank
the
you.
house thing.
Thank you.
Don't do it unless you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're
I feel that.
ready.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, because like I'm big on, I wanted to have a kid when I was like 24, which likely isn't the case anymore. So it's like, it's because I had crazy young. My mom and dad had me when they were 19 and 20. So like I was like in 6th grade being like, hey dad, how was this? And he's like, oh sheesh, that was like 9 years ago. Let me think about it. And I'm like, damn. That was crazy.
Sure.
Meanwhile, like my 7th grade girlfriend, her mom was 53 and my dad was 28. I'm just like, damn. There's something like that, it's little things like that. So I always imagined myself having kids at a young age, but now it's like, yeah, silly little world we live in. But sorry.
We're starting to dip into that age of like it's like a transitional period, like socially, of going like, okay,
Your friends are starting to marry off.
So,
you're starting,
yeah,
I have a
we're
shit ton of
stepping
friends
into
with
that.
kids.
Or it's that where it's like I had a coworker older than me. He just had a son back in July. We made a bet basically that the due date was July 25th, which was my birthday. I said that if your son is born on my birthday, he was literally willing to exchange a graphics card, like the 30. I have a 3080, which is like some whatever
Top of the line, yeah.
top what. Bah. We basically said if he's born on that date, he's born with my name, and he'll swap it, and we shook on it. And then I had him sign a little sticky note.
And the wife was down. The wife was fully
down.
compliant.
The wife
Got it
was fully
notarized,
down.
and then
I was just short of a notary stamp.
Yeah. We have a notary friend too. Yeah, we totally could have.
But yeah, like he's like having a friend for the first time being like, we're pregnant, and being like, how do I react?
Yeah,
Do I go,
absolutely.
oh shit, or do I go like, congratulations?
Yeah.
I literally waited for his reaction. I was like, oh, how do you feel?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, nice, man. Yay. Oh,
Yeah.
Second
Yeah.
second kid right now rolls around, and I was like, how do you feel? And he's like, I'm just here. And I was like, oh, it was back to back.
Yeah. Congrats. So I'm sorry. to
That's
hear
one of
that.
those relationships where they've dated longer than they've been alive at this point, so
Ah,
they're
yeah,
they're
hell
locked
yeah.
in. You
Hell
know what I mean?
yeah.
There's no stipulations, ifs, ands, or buts. They're together. They're for lifers.
That's
you know,
cool.
as
That's
the,
really
the
cool.
youngins would say. But
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a slippery slope. I mean, what like Yeah, maybe I won't ask you on air. But yeah, interesting. So I guess like the reason why I bring this up is because it is so damn difficult to get a house right now, and we just booked an Airbnb to go snowboarding. We're going snowboarding next week. Holy shit,
Chris, after the pod, I need to buy my ski lift tickets. I have not done that.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
You need to.
I have not.
We'll do that.
I don't know
So I went on Airbnb and I clicked on this lady's profile, and this lady has 487 properties. Now I don't know how that works on Airbnb, but nonetheless, that means that there are 500 houses that are just sitting there stagnant, more or less.
I mean, she pays 500 property taxes every year.
Sure, maybe, but also how much is she making on those Airbnb trips?
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of money. It's not cheap. The one we're going to is cheap, but like I looked at some of the other ones. It's like, damn, that's like a mansion. That's like a little villa, and that's posing an issue, especially with like Zillow. Zillow is just scooping up entire freaking neighborhoods. I'm pretty sure
They stopped because they
lost money.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they got absolutely pooped on on that business model.
Really?
Which is great. Yeah, it's really good news that happened.
Yeah, it's good for us.
I was legitimately fearing the idea of like a corporate town where at some point you're going to have to exchange labor for like housing.
That's something
like,
that Tim brings that up all the time. Like eventually Amazon is just going to own neighborhoods, and you work for Amazon, and in exchange for discounted housing rates or some shit like that. It's like, yeah, your whole life is based on us.
That's scary.
You know, it's like, and you know, it's kind of like, you know, this dystopian, you know, where business is one.
And then eventually, like the slippery slope, hundreds of years in the future, after some sort of collapses, Hunger Games. You just have now districts that are literally living in that society meant to produce one good or one service.
And Daddy Bezos is like just walking around in like a little aquarium, and his head's in a fish tank, and you know he talks through like Stephen Hawking beeps and stuff like that.
And then Walt Disney's unfrozen. That's my favorite theory is the Walt Disney like cryogenically frozen
under Disneyland.
JFK and Biggie. Notorious B.I.G. like
Cuba.
They were the ones preserving him the whole time. You know? That's cool.
Is there a JFK is still alive one?
Yeah, JFK and Elvis.
I think there's a lot of stuff that goes against that.
What are you talking about?
There's not many famous people where we have like widely circulated visible evidence.
No, I think there's a conspiracy around it. It's on the.
Is it like a robot? Or?
It's on the top of my head.
I have the evidence, and it lies in like a 556. It's like it lies in your head.
I said it's at the top of my head. What's it?
It's about?
You get it?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Poor Jackie.
I'm sorry.
Have you? Oh, I don't know if you also saw this. The internet has like recently been shitting on Jackie Kennedy's just appearance. They just said like she looks like she would eat sheet metal, and like it's like bad stuff like that. They're just bullying her. I don't know why 60 years later, like
there's another good one where it's like
dude, Twitter is just having a field day bullying Jackie Kennedy.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. Just cause
that's another thing about
it's just her nose.
2023. It's like the hardest era to be a creative of any kind. Where like Taylor Swift put like 6 years into this new album or whatever, and she drops it, and some piece of shit like 15-year-old kid just comments mid. You missed.
Yeah.
Bad, yeah.
Not her.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, sorry. So how's this? What do you think about companies owning properties or because like that's one thing too. Is that lady an extension of Airbnb? Like
she's an extension almost certainly of a holding company that has purchased tons of real estate with the express plan of renting it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, Airbnb sucks.
Why?
That's because basically exactly what you described. So first of all, and this is like, there's a lot of like Silicon Valley innovations, and it started with Uber, right? A lot of those companies, their actual killer app is, hey, we're like X company, X type of industry, except not. And like the way that we're more efficient is technically we're not this, so we're not subject to regulation. So Uber is, we're not a taxi cab, it's ride sharing. Right? So we don't need to follow all the like laws and regulations vis-a-vis taxi companies, so we can undercut them on price. But like those laws and regulations, like they exist for a reason. Yeah. And so if you don't think they should exist, the solution is like get rid of them. Yeah. But no one wants to do that because obviously you don't want a bunch of unlicensed people just like
Craigslist ads being like, hey, come stay at my place.
Airbnb obviously is just they're hotels. Yeah. Right? That's what they are. They're hotels.
Yeah.
Hotels have very strict zoning laws. They have lots of like safety regulations to make sure that people aren't, I don't know, spying on you in your hotel room, right? Like there's all that kind of stuff. But Airbnb, no, it's not a hotel. You're just letting someone else stay here in your house.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, to start with, and this is like, I'm going to disclaim this with something weird, which is like, I'm a capitalist.
Yep,
right.
sure.
And that's there are a lot of communists. It's a much more popular position than
Yeah.
it was 20 years ago. So I'm saying that because I'm going to say something that sounds kind of communist, but this is actually, I'm coming from like Adam Smith's place with this almost.
Okay.
Right? Like Adam Smith, people don't know this. Adam Smith was like very anti-rent seeking. That's like a thing that you learn in economics is like
Yeah. Interesting.
a behavior you want to avoid as much as possible to have like a functional capitalist system.
Passive
Avoiding-
income like that.
Yeah,
avoiding rent.
is people who literally don't produce anything.
Yeah.
They just stand as a go-between between like
Airbnb is an intermediary
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
housing.
they don't and particularly that woman or her company because
Yeah.
she's a representative for a company, I guarantee you. But like they're not producing anything.
No.
Right? Literally all they're doing is
Upcharging
Yeah.
real estate.
yeah. And so like first of all it's bad for the hotel industry, but like okay, whatever, I guess. The bigger issue is you've now already like the issue with housing prices is a really complicated one.
Okay.
But to start with, we've already gotten to a position where rent is greater than the cost of a mortgage and arguably greater than the cost of home ownership.
It's
Yeah.
harder to
Right?
get
Even-
approved.
Yeah.
Yeah, even accounting for maintenance costs or whatever else.
Yeah.
The reason for that is because people have an incentive now to buy out houses not to live in them,
Yeah.
but to rent them out. So they're
Yeah.
crowding people out of home ownership.
Yeah.
And the qualification is basically, do you have good enough credit
Yeah.
to get into a mortgage so that you can like get out of the rent game?
What's the opposite of promoting where it's like, because like I know a lot of people are like deterring, so it's deterring ownership too, which is the other thing where it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, stripping the individual person of ownership.
of assets.
Yeah.
So Airbnb takes like, and there's it's such a complicated issue.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm trying to be like really cautious with how I phrase myself here because I don't want to say something and have someone look at it and be like, that's not true, because you could pick apart a lot of what I'm going to say if I'm not careful.
Deal.
But there's, in theory, like landlords are probably a necessary evil because you unless you want to straight up have like all apartments be public housing,
Yeah.
which
not.
yeah, most people don't want that.
Chris
all.
hates the idea of HOAs. I think they're what's considered a
I hate
necessary
HOAs,
evil.
but yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Yeah. I agree with him, but I hate HOAs.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. Yeah.
I disagree that HOAs are a necessary evil, but that's another point. HOAs have a long and not too great history of, like, you guys know the first HOAs were literally designed to keep people of color out of like neighborhoods, right?
I did not. know that.
See, I mean, most people wouldn't know that police were originally slave catchers.
Yeah, exactly,
Like
yeah.
runaway slave
Yeah.
catchers.
No, yeah, that's. I mean, I'm not saying that modern HOAs are racist per se, but like, but I mean, they can be.
Oh, absolutely.
They absolutely can be,
Yeah.
and not even necessarily intentionally, just because
Yeah.
people tend to. Human beings are like, this is just how we are. We evolved to be tribal and to like fear the other.
Yeah, oh,
Right?
absolutely.
Like someone comes from another group and you don't trust them. They're
Nope.
here to take my resources or whatever else.
absolutely.
P.S. Like race is not. It's kind of a made up thing. Like
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard that.
We arbitrarily decided like these features are racial.
I've
These
heard
ones
that, yeah.
aren't, right? So like
Yeah.
we could say like having like long noses is a racial feature, and then Chris and I are the same race, and you're not, right? So like, yeah, podcast is now long nose on paper.
Nose print to prove it.
Yeah. But anyways, like, so people fear the out group.
Okay.
If you're running the HOA, right? If you have like a neighborhood association,
Yeah.
you're
HOA.
necessarily
HOA.
going to be more like. You're going to be more trusting of people who look like
Already-
you, talk like you,
In
like
your neighborhood, same socioeconomic
yeah.
status.
I know that this person's safe. I don't know that this other is safe, even if there's no intention of being
Yeah.
right. Like that's not. It's not like
It's mostly subconscious.
yeah,
too,
you're not necessarily putting on a hood or anything like that, but there still is that element.
Yeah.
And so
Implicit
Yeah.
biases, like
Yeah. Subconscious. Yeah.
I'm broadly against organizations that encourage the enforcement of that.
Yeah, whether or not it's intentional. Yeah,
yeah,
interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lady that just rides around on a bicycle in my girlfriend's neighborhood and just looks for HOA violations.
Yeah. Do you have Nextdoor? Do you ever like?
Yeah.
Nextdoor is wild.
Next
Yeah.
door, the NARC app.
Yeah, it's so bad. Yeah, my dad got dinged one time because they're like, your hedge is getting a little messy, and I can see that you have a couple of bicycles behind that, and I'm going to report you. And it's like, I'm not hurting anybody right now by having a long hedge that hides my bicycles. My bad. Shit like that. We're just like, yeah, interesting. I hate the HOA, but yeah. I propose to Mr. Evans a CG HOA, which is a cool guy HOA. I can do what I want, but like,
So you're grouping cool guys now?
Yeah. Yeah. So when we have a CGHOA in a neighborhood full of cool guys, we're gonna get a guy that comes along that's not a cool guy, has nothing to do with race, but he's just not cool. We're like, hey, no thanks.
So yeah, you're just a criteria. You just set different criteria.
Exactly. Interesting, but yeah. So I mean, I didn't know that Zillow thing happened. That's it's like a weird backwards twisted
they were
win.
selling. They actually so their plan in like the rising of the pandemic. They were trying to buy up all these properties because like there wasn't anybody trying to go out and seek those. Yeah. So or at least as many as would normally be, all things considered. So they ended up having to sell a lot of those properties under asking, like because they had too much property.
Wanting to get rid of them. Yeah.
They bought too much property, and so they had all of this.
Dummies. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
It was just sitting.
Yeah, that's one that like we had Chuck Bon Giovanni on. I don't know if you saw his signs around the city.
Yeah, we did.
I heard you guys talking about that. I was like, I need to go back and listen to that episode because I wonder what that guy's deal is.
So check it out.
Literally not a shred of politics.
Yeah, nothing.
None.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about politics at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So once again, my girlfriend's mom was just like, I stopped listening after like 40 minutes because you guys were just talking about like cheeseburgers in Las Vegas and stuff.
Yeah.
The one that I was curious about is he had the one sign that was like, we can't let our traffic become California's ugly sister, which is like, I agree.
That's pretty funny, though.
But then what I was curious about is like, I wonder what your plan is because
how do we fix that?
Well,
then?
legitimately, Arizona's solution every time we're like, we need to deal with traffic has been to widen roads.
Yeah.
Which is literally what California did.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Also, literally why California has the problem.
That's funny.
Does.
I didn't know that.
Right? Like it's called induced demand, but what you're doing is when you widen roads, right? Like what traffic should do is it should make people go, wow, maybe we should make this. Yeah, maybe we should focus less on like drivability and more on like expanding public transit options.
Oh, okay.
Maybe like maybe we shouldn't build yet another like development that's like 50 miles away from the city center where everyone works.
He started saying that. He's like, maybe we shouldn't focus on drivability. And I was going to say, we should focus on speed. And I was like, oh wait, never mind.
But I mean, but there's nothing better than looking over a Sonoran desert and just having a great big old highway. Let's put more of them up.
Yeah. It's great. And let's not have any concern for whether there's like water underneath where you're building it. It's fine.
It's all
great.
dirt.
Yeah, it's
all dirt. Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
So I did always wonder about that. So I'll still listen to it, but I'm disappointed. I was hoping he was going to be like, here's what we need.
Here's what I want to do. No, absolutely. He had this like little link thing.
He basically, I
emailed him. And he kind of, when he hit me back, he was like, dude, I've been grinding out your podcast episodes. I'm a fan. You guys are hilarious. So this is, and like still to this day, I think the greatest compliment that we've ever gotten was from him. And it was originally like meant to be like an insult, I think. When he got here and he sat right where you're sitting and he was just like, so how do you guys, how long are your guys' records versus the episodes?
Is this one take?
And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, so like, is it like a 2-hour record and then you guys post like an hour and 20 minutes? Like, and I genuinely didn't understand the questions. Like, what do you talk? Like, I'm like, clarify your question. And he's just like, do you guys cut out like the pauses? Cause you guys are like so quick. I figure you guys like cut out the long pauses and stuff like that. And I was like, no, we don't. An hour 20 record is an hour 20 post. Yeah, like, that's how it goes. And he was just like, and he just did not believe us. He's like, I guess we'll see, because I have a feeling you guys cut out like awkward silences and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm like, no, dude, that's just us. And at the end of it, he was like, all right, you guys really just are like good entertainers. And like that was like the still to this day. Like, I was so grateful. I was like, damn.
I mean, it's tough. I have to cut out pauses.
Completely.
Like,
absolutely. Yeah. It's easy to. I mean, like even to like just kind of mentally turn your brain off a little bit and just be like, okay.
I think
next thing.
I think Chris and I like, and Mr. Evans touched on this too. Like, and this was a very sincere compliment from him as well. He was saying that like there is an inherent duality between us, and I think that rapport builds off of that, and that's something that people can connect to. You can see both sides and how like I'm constantly challenging him.
Yeah,
and then going back and forth. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, you guys have great chemistry.
Thanks, man. Yeah. When I wasn't talking about my girlfriend buying a house earlier, I was talking about Marcos. So we're, hopefully we'll get a home studio. I forgot to mention that to you. But yeah. But yeah. Okay. So Airbnb is bad.
Yeah. I mean, so basically it's restricting supply, and at least if somebody buys a house to rent it out, right? At least that's still on the renter's market. That's still, especially in Arizona. We don't build. This is a known problem. We don't build enough multifamily properties.
All apartments.
And so that also restricts supply. But at least there's still one house available for rent.
Yeah.
Not as good as if that house were available for sale and we had more apartments for rent, but at least something. Airbnb, it's a house that's by design not lived in for 70% of the time. And depending on where, so like if I buy up properties in Gilbert, right, or sorry, Glendale. If I buy up properties in Glendale, I'm probably only planning to have those properties lived in a handful of weekends a year around football games, around the Fiesta Bowl, whatever else.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, major events.
Yeah, and I can turn a profit on that, and then the rest of the time it's just vacant.
Yeah.
So if you're restricting the supply of housing that much, the natural result is you're going to be raising prices, right?
Okay.
So yeah, I'm sure there are like economists who study housing who are like, no, Airbnb is fine. I don't know any of them who don't hate it.
Okay.
Personally.
Okay.
But
Can it be fixed by just building more houses?
that would help.
Yeah.
Honestly, we need more multifamily homes.
Yeah.
I would say a big part of it, like there's a huge amount of things that go into the housing crisis.
Yeah.
So for one,
Yeah, tell us about that, please.
and let me make sure I get the name of the company right, because I read about this like a year ago. I always want to say Real GM, and that's obviously not. It's like
MGM?
I think it's Real. I think it's
Okay.
so there's a company, it's also a tech company by the way, but like their secret sauce is they gather data on rents and then they distribute that out to landlords to basically tell them like, hey, this other property in your neighborhood is charging like $1,800 a month more than you're charging for this property. Like you can raise
Drive
rents,
that up.
right? And they've driven, like by their own studies, they've driven in some areas like
That's awful.
13 or 14% increases in rents over like month over month, and like
over-month?
yes, month over month during certain months. And
awful.
have said like people wouldn't feel comfortable raising these rates without our data. So that part, like,
That's awful.
yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, that's
But
so bad.
You could, even if you're comfortable with that, though, if you're feeling it's like, hey, it's a market economy, people have choices. The real issue is they also host like work groups of landlords who
Big
like
convention?
rent, where they can get together and discuss the prices they're charging for rent, and like, I don't know, that's kind of like,
kind of sound like.
yeah, it's like your price, like that price fixing thing.
Yeah.
Like almost, and like this is often the reality with a lot of tech companies is they have, when you see like these fantastical, we have this great algorithm, it's proprietary.
Yeah.
A lot of the times what you actually have, especially with like startups, is what's called a mechanical Turk, which is basically you're not actually doing that. There's it stupid story, but like that comes from supposedly like, I mean, just hundreds of years ago, someone claimed to have like a chess playing automaton that was really good at chess. And they actually had like a little person inside of it who was like literally it was and he was Turkish.
He was a chess master?
Yeah. So that's
perfect.
So like
You call it a mechanical Turk.
that's the tech industry
hilarious.
jargon for it. Is you have
cool.
so there's you claim that you're like it's machine learning or whatever else,
Yeah.
but it's there's actually like a
bunch of dudes
person
in a
behind it.
room.
My amateur suspicion is that like your real secret sauce here isn't your super magical algorithm.
No,
It's,
yeah.
it's that you're getting people together and having them be like, let's all just agree we're not going to charge less than $2,000 a month.
Break.
Yeah. No, I saw a post. It was like a thing of Danny DeVito crying, like all emotionally.
yeah.
It's like the 1% of joy that I feel raising rent on a single mother.
Yeah,
Like-
literally. So that because we've been looking into this so much, and you do see these horror stories of just like, what the hell? I gave my landlords pushback when they raised the rent on this place. I gave them pushback. I was like, I just checked Zillow. Like all the other apartments in here are going for $100 less than that, and we don't want to move. And then they said something to the effect of like, well, I mean, you could move into one of those units if you want. And I was like, okay,
It's
it's bad, dude.
That's frustrating. And some of that, I mean, again, probably a necessary evil. So I don't know how much you can restrict things like that through policy unless you want to just straight up go into building massive amounts of public housing.
Yeah.
The issue is there's also an incentive, and like this is part of what companies like. I really hope I'm getting the name right, and it's not something else. So please look it up yourself, home. And yeah, I think it's.
Bet.
If it's not, apologies to whatever company
Deal.
that is.
Get wrecked.
Yeah, but there's also a problem of there's an incentive a lot of times to leave properties vacant if you can't get rent at that level because you don't want to establish a lower rent
You don't want
base.
to water down.
Yeah.
You don't want to water down other people's competition.
Yeah.
Other landlords like.
Or
no,
especially-
it makes
yeah.
more sense to take a loss on just 3 months, and if someone signs that, if it keeps going up 3 months for the next year, you're making back well more what you would have lost.
Particularly because, and this is like the dirty secret, most landlords aren't owning a single property that they're renting out,
No.
which means they're competing with themselves. So if I have to cut rent on this place
Yeah.
to get someone into this property, I'm undercutting myself on price everywhere else. So it makes more sense to just leave the property vacant.
Yeah. That's wow.
Because eventually you're going to find what's the term you used? Is does fungible apply there? Like is
Yeah,
that
housing is at least semi-fungible.
renters?
Yeah. Renters are absolutely fungible. Yeah, they're all a paycheck, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, I would argue a solution that has been implemented other places and one that just makes sense is for second properties. First of all, property taxes should be way higher than they are on primary properties.
Oh, really? I know what you mean. Yeah.
Something that's your place of residence should not have the same property tax as something that you
holding
are
company.
that you are using as a method of income.
Yeah.
Particularly, again, because from an economic standpoint, unless you built the house, which you probably didn't,
Yeah.
you didn't add any value
No.
economically.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that should be illegal.
Yeah.
But it is to say, like,
Hey.
we don't, if we're looking at and the whole argument for capitalism
Yeah.
is that, like, hey, rising tide lifts all boats. We have an incentive to produce.
Yeah.
And even though there's going to be some things that suck that happen as a result, long term we end up better off. Right.
Interesting.
The flip side is that means you regulate the things that don't contribute to that end.
Yeah.
The second thing, though, is there should absolutely, and some places are starting to do this. Toronto started to do this year because they're, I don't know if you guys know, like Toronto has
Toronto
like,
Maple Leafs, baby.
their housing crisis is ridiculous. Like
What?
people buying like basically shacks that are about to topple over for $1 million type of stuff.
Damn.
So Toronto has started charging a vacant property tax.
Yeah.
And it's assessed,
Wow.
it's something like 1% of the property's assessed value for every month it's left vacant.
Oh, wow.
That's like isn't that like $2,000?
Yeah.
So if a place is worth like $200,000,
Yeah, you'd pay $2,000.
that's a lot. Damn.
I don't. It's something like that. It's
But
a
still,
percentage of
like,
the property,
but like a
value,
lot
but
though.
yeah.
Like not nothing.
So that's like a negative incentive for
Yeah.
those people who hold
Yeah.
tons and tons of properties.
It's not like $50.
Yeah, if your argument is the thing we do is we provide upkeep, we assume the risk of owning the property, which is an argument for that. I would argue, first of all, like from a healthy economic standpoint, you shouldn't owning property should not be less risky than like owning stock, like owning.
Yeah. Wait, you
Wow.
don't think so? Owning property should not be less
Owning
risky.
yeah, it.
I see what you mean. Sorry, I got it flipped.
Yeah,
Okay.
part of the problem is right now for a lot of people it is, right? They view it
Yeah.
as this is just a stable source of income. And by the way, a lot of those same people who sure are quick to say like, hey, look, it's the market or whatever else,
Yeah.
sure do come crying for government bailouts when there's a crisis and they can't
Hell
get
yeah.
people in there. Like,
Yeah.
it's not uncommon.
Hey, all the GameStop people that got totally. They're like, there should be
Yeah.
regulations against it. It's like, dude,
Well, what hedge funds have been doing for how long? It's like you just
Exactly.
played their game and
Yeah.
they lost, and now they're crying about
that's
it.
perfect.
So
I wish that happened while I was still in
Okay.
high school.
So-
I would have given anything to have talked to you about that. But
one
yeah.
thing, a few people that I know directly have been trying to buy houses. They've been getting outbid by Canadian people.
Yep.
They've been getting outbid by
Californians, Canadians.
It's just, and it goes 40,000, 50,000 above asking price, cash like
Yeah.
that. They just have that liquidity to just be able to.
So, and that speaks to part of the problem is we're a relatively low cost of living area. And so people are buying up those properties for a couple of reasons. One is the aforementioned. They're buying it because they view it as an easy source of investment.
Yeah, Arizona's it's a growing metropolitan. It's like
it's got to be number one.
it's like top
or
six
something.
metropolitan cities in the United States.
Maybe it's because we live here that it seems like it's ridiculous, though, dude. It's insanity.
It also doesn't make. I mean, just this is admittedly opinion, so don't
Yeah.
take this as like this is what economists say because
Yeah.
there's some who say this and some who would disagree, and
Yeah.
it's not really based on any math or science. But housing really doesn't and shouldn't meet the criteria of being an investment. Like I would argue, it's not healthy capitalism to view housing as an
Okay.
investment.
I agree. Yeah,
Because it's not. First of all, it's a depreciating asset. Like
Yeah.
a house doesn't gain value.
Yeah.
it shouldn't. Yeah,
It only gains value relative to the need for housing.
So it should be like it
Yeah.
should be the same as a car, where it's like once you drive a car off a lot, you just lost like 30% of its
Once
value.
you built a house in the 70s, you still have those pipes.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you still
So-
have those. Yeah.
It's what it ends up doing when we treat it that way is it creates a situation where it's redistributionary, or de facto it redistributes wealth from young to old. Were you old enough to be able to access this house back in a time when housing was still cheap in this area?
Yeah.
You get to make a bunch of money because now you can rent it out
I see.
to people for a bunch. And two, it's also redistributionary de facto from people without parents who can buy them in
Yeah.
at a young age to people with parents who can.
Yeah,
Neither of those things are really like healthy, nor are they necessarily just.
Yeah.
And like we don't need people buying houses to rent them out to have like a functional housing market.
Yeah.
So yeah, any regulations that kind of steer us away from that, there's not really a downside. And when economists speak against regulations, it's almost always because there's actually an efficiency loss. We're generating something and now we're generating less of it.
gotcha.
That's not going to happen with like with housing.
Yeah.
So
I saw an interesting take where it was also like the lack of people going into the military too, because the military is like just. I get it.
well, the like was it this about student loan forgiveness?
No, it was just about like housing. Like another reason why there's just a few less houses available is because there's like so
not
many.
as many people enlisting.
Exactly. So it's like which I think that's true, right?
I mean,
I'm trying
if
to-
the government oversees the production of houses in those bases.
No,
or
just in
so-
general.
So fewer people are being
GI?
deployed.
Yeah, no, or full out enlisting.
Or
So
like-
like you're seeing the correlation between houses available tank, but you're also seeing the number of enlistments go down as well. So it's like, well, shit, those people that aren't going to the military. I literally just read that on some stupid little thing, which was like also one other little subset of like what might be a reason.
I'm really skeptical of that.
You don't think so? Why not?
No, I mean, so for starters, like
Less people are enlisting.
I believe it.
Yeah.
But why does that make less houses
'cause
for like military specific?
I know. I
So-
don't know.
So the argument is that those people. I just want to make sure I understand. The argument is because those people aren't enlisted, they're now in the buyer pool or the
Yes,
renter
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I can't go enlist and
I mean-
go to Afghanistan. So I better just settle down and buy a house. It's like, well, shit. So like,
I mean, I guess for starters, it's not like 100% of people who enlist don't buy housing.
Oh, really?
Like so if you enlist, I mean, this is a common thing already. And enlisted men tend to get married at
Yeah.
a much higher rate
Oh, hell
young
yeah.
because there's like military benefits
Yep.
that come with that.
Bet your ass.
So if I'm enlisted and I'm married, even if I'm like off in Afghanistan or whatever
Yeah.
else, my wife still needs to live somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm not really necessarily removing anything
Yeah.
from
I see.
from the total buyer pool by doing that. I also just in terms of the pricing effect, like rents have tripled from the 90s adjusted for inflation. I think something like they've gone up by something like 2.5%.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. Literally
2.5 times. Sorry,
So
250%.
my sister just moved into the apartment complex that my mom and dad lived in when they had me. Daisy just moved into the exact. It's like 2 buildings away, same layout and everything like that. And yep, it 2.28 times more expensive.
Yeah, I was curious. I looked at because when my wife and I when she first moved down here, the apartment we moved into like the cheapest piece of crap unit we could find that wasn't like obviously unsafe.
Yeah.
Just so that we could, because our game was we just want to save as much as we can and just get into a house because the market was still. We got lucky, right?
Yeah.
Again, in terms of redistributionary.
Yeah.
If I wanted to, I could rent out our house and move somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I'm benefiting from the fact that I was fortunate enough to be able to buy a house back when it was listed at $180,000 and whatever the hell it would be now.
Yeah.
But
400,000. Yeah.
probably. Yeah, it's stupid. It's not worth that, but that's probably what it's listed as or would list as.
My childhood house,
but
800.
That same apartment, like I think we paid, and this was only like 2012.
Yeah.
We paid like $750 a month for that thing.
Now
I looked because I was curious. It's like $2,000 a month.
Yeah, exactly.
And that place is a dump.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
I won't name it, but that place is
It's bad.
dump.
Yeah, no, dude. So that's what, because I spray for bugs all day. I drive around to apartment complexes and houses, and I'm in apartment complexes all day. And I'll just throw it out there. Yeah, the Soltra at Santan Village, nice, sexy ass apartments. And I'm like, I asked about one of the 1 bedrooms. Like, how much is that unit?
One of the lawyers is
2,300.
He pulled back a little bit. He's like,
Yeah. What you gonna?
What are you gonna say?
Oh, he says it's nice. He says it's nice. It's good. It's good. But yeah, crazy nice apartments, and yeah, $2,300 a month for a 1 bedroom. It was stunning. It was incredible,
Okay.
but still,
Okay.
It was a loft. It was cool. But then I'll go to the shitholes where I'm like, damn, dude, like I went to this Ultra place and they're like, yeah, we have one big spider in one of the garages. Could you go kill it? And I'm like, sure. And then I go to I go to the crappy places and they're like, oh yeah, we have 17 units that are like infested. Do you mind? And I'll be like, yeah, that's fine. And yeah, still $1,700 a month. You're just like, damn, dude. If you could find a way to make an extra $600 a month, or I don't know how it'll work, but like you could, I don't know, it's crazy, but. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to just turn into like a complaining segment, but like it's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough being young, and I get in arguments with like my girlfriend's grandparents who are like, "You kids are so spoiled these days. You like what? Why are you guys wasting money?" And I was like, literally the only thing I spent that was it was like a non-necessity was I went to the movies, and she's like, "Well, you shouldn't have done that." I'm just like,
yeah, that.
I went off on the first podcast episode we recorded after that happened. It was at Thanksgiving. I went off, dude. I was so pissed. We were going back and forth, but I was just like, yeah.
It's easier to blame the young generation for eating avocado toast than it is to acknowledge that maybe there are systemic problems that need addressing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I got clowned on for drinking Lactaid instead of normal milk. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that's why you're broke.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's what I got told. Yeah.
That $2 difference.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
You're burning all of it away.
Ignore housing being... But it's also tough, too, because I'm like, yeah, housing is twice as expensive. And they're like, but housing is also... but minimum wage is also doubled. And I'm like, well, technically, yeah. Is that wrong?
What's the purchasing power
Why is
of that adjusted for inflation?
So your girlfriend's grandma, how old is she?
76.
Okay. Oh, wow, your girlfriend, she's like my dad's age. Okay. So like minimum wage, well, so that would have been like, she would have been working in like the 60s.
The first house she bought was $13,000.
Yeah. So like relative to purchasing power would probably be the best way to do it. Let's just take like 1970. So relative to like 1970 cost of living,
Okay.
the minimum wage there would be the equivalent of like $25 an hour.
Yeah.
In terms of like what you could buy
right
with
now.
It. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, like rent was considerably less expensive.
Yeah.
Food was considerably less expensive. Like rent, the rule of thumb up through the 90s, the rule of thumb for housing is it shouldn't take up more than 25% of your budget. And that
I fucking wish.
that wasn't like you need to live in a dump. That was just like, yeah, you have to
That's insanity, dude. Let me just think about that. I think I'm at like 65% of my paychecks go to rent. Yeah.
Yeah, it is not good.
That's so funny. Damn. Okay, so
trying to avoid a meltdown right now.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm like,
you should be mad.
yeah,
honestly,
no,
it's
tough.
And to be fair to the grandmas of the world and whatever else, they don't necessarily like they're not coming to your place or whatever. Their assumption when they hear you're living in an apartment that's $1,700 or $2,000 or whatever isn't that was the cheapest place you can find.
That was your problem.
Yeah, for them it's like we'll just live someplace cheaper.
Yeah,
right.
No, that's
now I'm on Indian school in 23rd.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm in Egypt, still paying $1,400. It's like it's. Man, thanks, man. You just validated so many of my frustrations. And that's the other thing too about social media is that like because I'm scrolling on Twitter and everyone else is just like saying the same shit, and it's like, yeah, I am allowed to be mad at this. It's interesting. How do you guys feel?
Good.
I mean, I'm 36 and I got into the housing market before this happened, so I'm sitting pretty. I'm feeling
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm feeling really good.
I'm wicked envious.
I'll be up against the wall when you guys revolt, but
I know. I'm looking forward to it. We'll spare you.
No, yeah. We see that house. We're like, not that one. Not that one.
No. We'll see him like peek out the window. I'm like, hey, wait. Hey, leave him alone. let him keep his house. That's funny. Do you think I'd be a good politician?
maybe. I mean, what's by what metric? Like, do I think you would do a good job? Do I think you have electability?
That's tough.
What
I've literally never been asked that. That's super fascinating. Everyone's always just like, yeah. I don't know.
What would you go into?
I don't know.
What would be your campaign? Would it be housing in Arizona? You'd work for the
whatever I could do to get to president the fastest.
You'd start in the HUD, housing and urban development. You move up there.
That's the one. Interesting. So, funny story actually. Marcos and I recorded preparing for this episode.
We did. Believe it or not, yeah, we decided for the first time we'd ever do like a behind the scenes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So yeah, we needed to wear our mental caps, and at least because like we knew the level that you have presented yourself, just based on what we have, our preconceived, perceptions. It's high,
It's very high.
You guys had Chris Evans on, and I'm telling you, he is legitimately smarter than I am. He's also more educated than I am.
He's also a lot more reserved.
He has an advanced degree from Harvard, and he's working on a PhD.
So basically,
he is a genius, though. Mr. Evans is incredible. Boom.
One of those, yeah.
But no, Mr. Evans is incredibly brilliant. But yeah, he definitely keeps his personal opinions to himself, though, which is why it's like it's one thing to be like, here's the facts, here's the truth, and like,
he has to because he's still teaching.
Exactly.
Yes. He has a lot more.
We don't blame him at all. But yeah, no, but the difference is like, him telling like a story about like one time when I went to ASU story versus like you being like, no, the thing that you've believed in for a long time is false, and you're like, shit.
Yeah. Would you say is that like an economist thing to I don't think I don't know. There's always this thing, two things. One, where do economists go to meet up? Where do they like? Is there a big meeting? Because when I ask like, okay, when economists go and they talk to each other, I hear the word economist all day. It's a buzzword to me.
Yeah.
It's somebody because everybody thinks it's associated with finance.
So I'm technically not an economist because I only have an undergrad degree in economics.
That's cool.
I worked with economists. I was a research assistant for one, and I keep in touch with a few of them.
That's cool.
Humble brag, one of my professors is now one of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors.
That's cool. Maybe he can give me.
Christopher Waller. He would not recognize me. I would not know. He would absolutely. He would be like, I don't remember you. But I got an A in his class. But but I'm sure there are 100,000 robe touchers who are like, I had you once. Remember me?
Yeah, robe touchers. That's hard. Yeah. You remember? You taught me.
Yeah,
I love that.
I was always curious, like, where do economists go to discuss the economy?
Yeah.
Like, is there a standardized like place where they go and meet? Because like what?
I just keep in touch with some people who got more educated than I did and ask them questions. That's where I go.
That's cool.
I text them and go, hey, quick question.
Yeah. What do you think about the sponge daddy sponge or whatever the hell?
Scrub daddy?
Scrub daddy. Yeah. What do you think about that? Yeah.
Nah. Just be like, hey, can you tell your boy Powell to
to chill?
Hey, bro, I'm getting scoreboarded by these basis points.
I love that. Hell yeah. I mean, I think we kind of hit everything on the head.
Yeah.
Dudes, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, very much sincerely. Thank you for your time.
That was a blast.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was fun.
Yeah. I mean, the hope might have him back, maybe not. If not, it's okay.
Yeah. So sorry, I totally went off on a tangent on that, but basically, I just wanted to say, Chris and I prepared a.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It was multiple hour. It was like probably 2 or 3 hours.
2 hours, yeah.
Yeah, 2 hours of solid, just us sitting down. We buckled down, just started researching, talking how we were going to describe things, what our topics were. We first started just talking about the topics.
Yeah.
He presented them to me. I gave feedback, and then we kind of bounced it off there.
Yeah.
And then, we ultimately led into research.
Yeah.
Finding different links, who was credible, what is credible.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, this is the first time we came to play.
So it was fun.
It was fun. It was
you guys
definitely
were
a lot
ready.
of fun.
Good.
So, expect that, folks, if you guys are watching this. I have no idea when this will be posted. It'll be posted next week.
I really hope the entire behind the scenes is just the two of you quietly sitting at laptops.
It's
typing.
a lot of that. Yeah, it's a lot of that.
Oh, my posture was abhorrent. It was it was so bad.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of that though, for sure. And it was funny because we turned the mic gain on the highest setting so that we didn't have to do this. Like, we could just set it up over here and it could just listen to us, because that's how just in the zone we kind of were. It was really cool, a lot of fun.
It was very lo-fi.
Yeah, hopefully, if you want, you can check that out and kind of see where we were at. But
Can't wait.
It's funny because I'm willing to bet we forgot 80% of the points we wanted to make and just didn't. But that's how we go. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this has been episode 58 of the Hispanic on Paper podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Like us on Spotify, rate us, follow us on subscribe on YouTube. If you guys have any sort of DMs or anything like that, anything you want to just talk about, reach out to us. We're always open ears.
Especially if you have problems with this not being about Hispanic empowerment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
If you want to come on and talk about Hispanic empowerment, then you can come on and talk about that. But
I think
You should invite that dude who DM'd you.
it was a girl. But yes,
You should invite that lady who DM'd
I
you.
should. I really should. God, I did not like her.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, that's really going to get her in. Yeah.
Yeah, come on. But yeah, episode 58. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, dude. Seriously.
course.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having
It
me,
was really
guys.
fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Do you have any wisdom to impart on just anything that we might have talked about? Anything that
Any wisdom you'd like to impart?
Yeah.
Or smoke weed every day, or whatever.
I'm definitely not going to say that because I want to keep my employment. And if I want to keep all my bridges unburned.
Good call.
Yeah.
Good call.
So I would say be kind to each other. That's really all I have.
No, I mean, what more do you need to say though?
avoid the hedonistic treadmill?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Unless you want to, then
Unless you're on your Sigma grind set and love consumerism
then
and
go get it. All right.
and profit motives.
Hell
That's
yeah.
you.
Well,
All right.
This has been episode 58.
My name is Marcos.
My name is Kashi.
My name's Ed.
Thanks for tuning in.
Take care.